All right, everybody. Hello, hello. You guys hear me okay? I'm not late. I'm not late this time. I want everyone to keep track. This is, I believe, who's keeping track? I feel like this is the fourth stream in a row that I have been close to on time, if not early. Close to on time, if not early. Who's keeping track? Yeah, you guys are shocked? You shouldn't be. This is the new normal. 4 streams in a row. Maybe, okay. Maybe we skipped one. Maybe I was bad, like, one of the streams in the middle. But I feel like we're, like, on a 3 to 4 stream streak of being pretty good with it. 5 stream streak? Yeah, I'll take it. I'm with insert clickbait. I'm on board. Actually on time? 3 minutes late. 3 minutes is nothing. 3 minutes, come on. 3 minutes is nothing. 3 minutes. That's the amount I'm giving you guys time to grab your, whatever you have. Drinks, smoking paraphernalia. That's the 3 minutes are for you guys. That's me giving you guys some grace so that you're all prepared. All right, enough talking about me. Let's talk about the chapter. Good morning, Morj. Oh, we got a European viewer here. All right. Loud Waffle saying, "What the fuck, Morj? You're early. I still need to shower." No, I told you guys like 4 streams back. We're on a new schedule. We're going to try and stick to the time. And if I need to change the time, then I will change the time. So, yeah, get used to it. This is the new normal. BeatGamer99, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 3 months, man. Morj, imagine Vegapunk explaining the Ancient Kingdom next chapter as the Ancient Robot finally starts to move to help Luffy. Holy shit, I didn't put that together with the Ancient Robot. Let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick. I did not put that together with the Ancient Robot. I did not think that, okay, this is gonna segue into Ancient Robot stuff, but it should, because the Ancient Robot is still just sitting there. And for a long time, we've been like, what the fuck's the Ancient Robot gonna do? And it's like, maybe it'll fight Saturn or something like that. At this point, Luffy's just fighting everybody. Luffy's got Kizaru and Saturn. There are no matchups to go around. Not for Zoro, not for Sanji, not for the Ancient Robot. I don't know what the Ancient Robot's up to at this point, but, yeah, explaining the Ancient Kingdom next chapter. The thing is, like, so there's two major things left, right? I feel like we have big lore reveals potentially in Elbaf, and then obviously the big one is Laugh-Tale, right? Laugh-Tale is when ultimately Robin should be the character. She should be the one who breaks down everything for us, right? That's why she's written into the story. So I think it's important that Vegapunk explains things, but I don't think that, I feel like there should be a hard limit to how much he should be allowed to get through, right? Because if he just explains everything about the Ancient Kingdom, and like, we all know that he's not going to explain everything here, right? But I would really prefer if he doesn't explain too much about the Ancient Kingdom, and if this explanation is less lore-based and more so him explaining the reality of the world government to the people, right? World government's evil, we should all be doing this against the world government, this is what the world government actually wants to do, stuff like that. I would rather him doing that than going into the history of it, because the history, I feel like, belongs to another character. Retro Records, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months. Holy shit, man. I hope you're looking forward to the podcast that comes out tomorrow. Should shout this out, as usual. All Yonko tier members and up get access to the weekly Morjcast. It comes out every Friday, where I share my extended thoughts on everything in the series that's going on right now. Latest videos, current events, stuff that I usually would not share on stream or on video because either too polarizing or too speculative. So, hey Morj, right on time as always. Yep, as always, thank you. I can't believe Vegapunk just told Luffy to give Bonnie a spot on his crew. Wano analysis when? Oh god, the Wano analysis I don't know. I don't know. Not this month. That's all I know. Not this month. There is a small chance that the Egghead Island analysis comes out first, depending on when Egghead concludes. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Yeah, I think Bonnie for Nakama is it's pretty much. I could do a poll, but it's pretty much sealed right there, right? She's gotten everything you could possibly need to be a Straw Hat. She follows in Luffy's footsteps. She's perfect for Cabin Girl. I think that's, I don't know. I would bet a lot of money at this point for Bonnie for Straw Hat. Keenan's asking, when does the giant robot come into play? I I don't know, man. I was just speculating on that. I don't have a good answer, man. I feel like there's not something clear. To me, if there was something clear, like a missing hole in this arc, like, oh no, we can't accomplish this, and then the giant robot functions as Deus Ex Machina to get them out of there, that would make a lot of sense. But right now, that's not really, I don't really see that being the case anywhere, because one, they've got pretty much all bases covered, right? Luffy is like the two main antagonists of the arc, Saturn and Kizaru. Luffy is essentially soloing them. We can imagine that Zoro would ultimately take care of Lucci at some point soon. Sanji's got nothing to do right now except get Vegapunk out of there. Like, the Straw Hats are good on resources, right? It's not like they're really pressed here, right? The entire monster... Like, Luffy's essentially handling the bulk of the work, while the other two members of the monster trio are, you know, their load is relatively light at the moment, right? Then on top of that, you've got the Buster Call going on, so there's Vice Admirals, but you've got the Giants who are just basically tearing that to shreds, so... It's not like the Straw Hats can't really... There's no way for them to escape this assault. Like, the Giants are literally making a way for them out of there. And then on top of that, you got the Pacifistas turning on the Marines. So you've got even more firepower, like super advanced high-tech firepower on the Straw Hat side. And then you've got so many Straw Hats who are just not really... They don't have any tasks right now that they need to be doing. So for me, I'm trying to like find a hole in the arc in terms of in this climax of, okay, where does the ancient robot fit in? What can the ancient robot really bring to the table or do right here to save everybody? It's like, they don't really need to be saved. They're mostly good. The only thing they really need to be doing right now is healing Vegapunk. That's the only real problem at the moment. And that's a Chopper situation. I don't think the ancient robot's exactly going to be pulling out, you know, the scrubs and like... turning out to be a doctor or anything like that. So I'm really not sure. Not a great answer, but it's I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine with the ancient robot. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Goomba Boomba, thanks a lot. Last page shows Vegapunk heartbeat monitor. He dead. Okay, come on, man. it's okay. So I'll share this. So this, I think Vegapunk could very well die here. I definitely think so. But it is almost comical how like, he's still talking, you know, while the heartbeat monitor goes out. So I was talking to my editor this morning. We're talking about the next video that's coming up. We're talking about the thumbnail and stuff for the video. And he's reading the chapter live, and he's talking about, like... So last chapter already, it just goes to show, like, how much death is really not that much of a problem in One Piece. Like, you gotta go extreme for characters to actually die. Because, like, last chapter, you had Vegapunk already close to dead, right? He's fatally wounded. He's bleeding out. He's gonna die. He's already there. And then this chapter, like, partway through, Kizaru just straight up stabs him straight through with a sword. Like, just completely murders him, essentially, right? And so he's already like, if you look at the chapter, I can't pull it up for you guys, but if you just look at it, it's just a straight it's a giant hole through his stomach, and he was already nearly dead. And so he's fatally wounded, and then he gets fatally wounded again. And then like in any other series, the character would have died the first time. In One Piece, they have to die twice. It still doesn't stick. Instead, he's standing up like he's ready to give his fucking "I have a dream" speech or something like that. Like, like in any other series, you would see this panel of Kizaru having thrust a sword through Vegapunk, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, this character just died." In One Piece, it's like, no, not only did the character not just die here, he was already near death before this stabbing even happened, and neither of these two things are really gonna stop him from getting up and giving like a presidential address. Why did Kizaru need to stab him this chapter? Why was this necessary? We would have already bought that he's pretty much dying. I don't know. It's just comical at that point. Anyway, let's move on. I do think Vegapunk could die for sure, because Oda's really laying it on thick at this point, but you know, it's just kind of funny how Oda feels the need to stack multiple death moments onto the same character and not have either of them count. It's like, dude, you don't need to do this much. At least don't have him give a speech at the end of all of that. All right. Behanoid, thanks a lot. I'm 98% sure we're getting an iconic death scene for Vegapunk next chapter. This is a classic. If you're reading this, I'm already dead. I could see that. But it also seems like some pressure is being placed on Sanji to get Vegapunk out of there, you know? I feel like it feels like it's almost necessary for Sanji to get him out of there to some degree, right? One sec. Let me catch up on... I get that it's pre-recorded, but Vegapunk's also not quite dead yet here, right? Like, you realize that... like, Sanji's still getting him out of there. He's still gonna be alive next chapter. I get that it's a pre-recorded speech, but it's also just like... he's gonna be able to speak next chapter when we see him. Like, this isn't Vegapunk's death moment. Unless Oda really goes, like, much more brutal than he normally is, and he had him die at the end of this chapter, and we see his dead body next chapter. But we know this wasn't, like, Vegapunk's final moment. Alright, let me catch the membership things real quick. Did I miss any memberships? Because I'm only seeing supers right now. If I missed a membership, please somebody shout it out. William Marshall, thanks for the 5. Morj, who is stronger in their prime, Shanks or Rayleigh? Will Zoro be stronger than either of them by the end of the series? Fuck, why are we getting into these type of questions? I'm gonna say Shanks. There was a time I would have said Rayleigh, but now I'm gonna lean towards Shanks. I think Zoro will definitely be stronger than Rayleigh by the end of the series. With Shanks, I mean, it comes down to your opinion on Shanks versus Mihawk, stuff like that. I think Zoro could be stronger than Shanks by the end of the series. I could definitely see that. Dynamic, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. Hey, Morj, you pulled through with the subscriber revenue checks. I thought you lied to me, but now I have a big house and a hot wife. You changed my life. You're welcome, dude. Sleeping Danger, thanks a lot. Thoughts on Luffy Pieces discussion? Okay, so this is a tricky subject. I do think that this is the first... I think most people could agree. This is this is definitely the arc that has the highest stakes I can think of, where the Straw Hats have been the most useless relative to Luffy, right? So far that I can think of, because really their contributions are extremely limited so far. The only one actively doing anything really helpful right now is Zoro and Lucci, but even then with Zoro and Lucci, it's like... I feel like it's almost silly because, like, you see Luffy holding Saturn and Kizaru, right? He's got Saturn and Kizaru easily, like, he's got them both solo at this moment in time. Whether that extends to next chapter, I don't know. But it's just like, if he's handling these two characters, like, it's clear that if Luffy really tries, he can handle Lucci effortlessly, right? If he really wanted to. He could have handled it in a few panels, probably, right? So it's like, yeah, Zoro's contributing by holding off Lucci, but Luffy already beat this dude. Even if Lucci was allowed to run rampant, like, Luffy would... Like, it's not even that Luffy already beat this dude. It's like, the only reason Lucci's even still technically a problem is because Luffy was a nice guy and was like, I'll let you go because I know I can handle you so easily. You get what I'm saying? So even the only additional problem that a Straw Hat is really handling right now, it's only even... Like, it's a problem that Luffy already solved, and he viewed it as so minute that he allowed the problem to just arise again. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's something that Luffy already did this, and Luffy allowed Lucci to be let loose, which is why Zoro currently has something to do. If Luffy didn't allow Lucci to be let loose, then even Zoro wouldn't even be contributing in that way. So then you look over to the other side, and it's like, okay, well, Sanji and Kizaru, but Luffy kind of took that. I like to believe that next chapter... that Sanji will still get in on the action against Kizaru if Vegapunk, for example, dies. But as I'm saying, like, it seems like Sanji was given a goal to get Vegapunk out of there, so unless Vegapunk dies on the spot and then Sanji can go back to fighting, it seems like Sanji still has to get Vegapunk out of there. I like to believe that Sanji still gets something against Kizaru, but it's hard to say. And then the rest of the Strats have just been asked. What have they even been doing? it is really strange because it's an arc with, I don't know, like random people are fucking showing up to contribute. Like the fucking giants from Little Garden are showing up and they're getting epic moments. And the Strahds are basically, they're NPCs this arc. It's really strange. It is the highest stakes arc outside of Impel Down Marineford where they weren't even there, but it's the highest stakes arc I can think of where the Straw Hats have been this irrelevant. Dressrosa might be the next closest, but then even in Dressrosa, you've got like Frankie taking care of the factory. God Usopp was basically crucial to resolving the entire conflict of the arc. That's why you got a whole statue for him made. And then Zoro took out Pika, which was at least something, you know, helped in some situations. And then Robin helped, you know, like there's moments. Louis Somers, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 11 months, man. Looks like Punk Records being the catalyst for the world government's purge is becoming a reality. Do you think it's likely we get the full-on emu reveal soon? Okay, so that's a theory video that I dropped a while ago. I would love for it to turn out to have been correct. My take on it was that Luffy would be the one to do it, to you know, trigger the whole end of the world thing. But it seems like it's just going to come from Vegapunk's own mouth. I think that is really, really important because it establishes why Punk Records was in the story in the first place, why Oda set up this whole thing. It allows some payoff to all of Vegapunk's knowledge and research. Do I think we'll get Emu's reveal soon? I believe post Egghead Island. Maybe not over the course of the climax of this arc, but I definitely see post Egghead Island, especially if Saturn's defeated here or something like that. Behenoid, thanks a lot. Sanji's character arc has been about staying human and true to himself, and this chapter he comments on Saturn's transformation and how he forsakes his humanity. Oh, that's a good point. I did not think about that. Also, if Vegapunk dies in his arms, oh boy. Oh, we could see an angry Sanji. That would be really, really cool to see. I would love to see that. Sanji getting, you know, fired up or whatever and going back into the fray. I would love to see that. Ground Pound, thanks for the 5. Low-key, Bonnie has to join now. Only a Yonko can protect her from the world government now. Also talk about post-Egghead bounties like you promised. Whoa, did I promise that? I don't know if I promised that. When did I promise? Someone pull up the clip. When did I promise that? Talk about post-Egghead bounties like I promised. I think it's too difficult right now because I think it remains to be seen whether or not Saturn's defeat... It comes down to Saturn's defeat. The rest of the Strahds didn't do jack shit, so it's like, are they getting credit for their bounty increases just because they were there? Like part of the incident, like a lot of the Strahds did from Dressrosa. If Luffy defeats Saturn and it's known to the world permanently, then I think Luffy's bounty skyrockets, right? It should have skyrocketed from Wano, but he only got like a 1.5 bill increase. It should skyrocket from here, but at the same time, it depends because Katarina Devon stole Saturn's transformation, like she stole his look. So the Blackbeard pirates could impersonate him. As I talked about in the most recent video, it's too it entirely hinges on Saturn. The increase entirely hinges on Saturn. I do think Bonnie has to join. It feels like a Robin situation where there's a very valuable character. She's going to need the Straw Hat's protection just to survive. Christian Barraza, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. I'm so happy to see so many long-term Yonko members. It's getting kind of crazy. The 9 months, 10 months, 17 months. Thanks so much, guys. If the Caribou Blackbeard Ancient Weapons storyline plays out, it would totally vindicate the long-standing Frankie builds a counter Pluton theory. I mean, I take it as gospel. Like, I put out the Frankie video a long while ago. I'm just like, of course Frankie's going to build Pluton. I almost don't think twice about it. Obviously, it's possible that he doesn't, but it's just like, the dude's he's the world's best, I mean, he's the world's most important shipwright. He even asked Luffy if he wants Pluton, and Luffy was like, nah, I'm good. At some point in the story, I imagine Luffy will need Pluton to fulfill all of the things that need to be fulfilled. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Holosama, thanks for the 2. Vegapunk dies with a smile on his face. Will of D, question mark? It depends, because I'm like, okay, how many characters at this point... Because Odin died. Is Odin a D? We don't know. It's possible. I wonder if, like, I think when we get confirmation a little bit, like, is Oda trying to say that only characters with the Will of D die with a smile on their face? I don't know if that's necessarily the case just yet. Vegapunk could die with a smile and not be a D. I also am kind of like, not everyone needs to be from the D tribe, you know? Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 5. Luffy needs to get Yamato to join ASAP. These bums, Zoro and Sanji, aren't Yonko crew level yet. I can't lie. I think Yamato would have taken care of Lucci by now. I can't lie. Um, Look, like, Zoro and Sanji, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, or what Oda's doing with them right now. It is just bizarre. Like, Sanji had such a good moment at the end of last chapter. It feels like it doesn't even matter now. I mean, it does matter what he did, but at the same time, it felt... I feel like you can't have the character come in talking that much shit and saying lines like that, and then immediately have them shit the bed. Not like shit the... Like, he was given one task, which was like protect Vegapunk. Doesn't protect Vegapunk. It immediately fails at that. Vegapunk literally, as some people believe, just died, right? So Vegapunk immediately gets stabbed. Sanji, take care of Vegapunk. Sure. Impaled. So that's not a good look. And then Zoro is off huffing and puffing. I think that this is a time... You know, I think last week was the most divided that Zoro and Sanji fans have ever been, right? A lot of vitriol being thrown around, a lot of hate. I think this is a time that everyone in chat, Zoro or Sanji fan, you should come together and just hope, because you're on the same boat right now, which is hope that Oda still cares about the two wings of the Pirate King, right? Just hope that by the end of this arc, they will have lived up to their status as Luffy's right and left-hand man, and that Luffy still very, very much needs them to win these big battles. The final storm, thanks to the two, did 1108 hint at a Doll and Robin moment in Elbaf? I don't know. I think people are hooked on Doll because of her design. It's possible. Oda does put more effort into designs for characters that he cares about. King should duck that. Thanks a lot. Caleb Brown, thanks for the two. Will you be sad if we end this arc on another win? No, I think that Egghead's a great arc. No, I think that almost, in my opinion, every arc pretty much I expected to end on a win. Marineford was the only exception because that's the halfway point, the midpoint of the story. I think people might misconstrue the fact that I wanted the Wano raid to end in defeat. Not that I wanted them to lose in the Wano arc in general. I just wanted the Wano arc to have a midpoint like every other arc does, where they don't succeed. But by the end of the arc, I expected them to still win. So same thing for pretty much like all arcs in the final saga. I expect like they're gonna have successes in the final saga. It's just that for anything major, I hope that there's like a low point, point of failure, things like that, right? Egghead, to me, this is still, like, it's gotten very high stakes very quickly, but it's still a fast-paced warm-up arc kicking off the New World. Like, I don't expect them to, just the tone and the vibe that was set for this arc, I don't expect some major, like, devastating defeat here. I feel like this is supposed to be very much triumphant victory for the Straw Hats from start to finish. Tanajan Dharma, thanks a lot. Hi, Morj. People complain that Gear 5th Luffy is too goofy, but his gaze in the last panel looks creepy. Do you think we can get a shift in how Gear 5th is depicted? I was very, very excited by the last couple pages of this chapter, the last few Gear 5th panels. Who was a fan of those? I really, really, really enjoyed seeing Luffy like that. It's prompted my next video, which is on Gear 5th again, but taking it from a different angle. I think that... So, my take is personally that it might be too soon to say, but I feel like we've only really seen Luffy get, just because Luffy gets sillier and more goofy in Gear 5th, and that's the side that Oda's been playing up so far, right? I think from looking at this fight and the Kaido fight, I think there's hints that there is a more serious side to Gear 5th when Luffy actually starts pulling out the big guns, and Luffy's natural inclination is to be goofy and sandbag a little even in Gear 5th. So I think we're just going to get more and more glimpses into Luffy fighting more seriously in Gear 5th and what that can look like as time goes on. It's just that Oda's playing up the sillier, happy-go-lucky, zany side of it first, because that's the unique side of it. And then it gets even more interesting when you start mixing in the old-school Luffy that we knew and what type of combination that we get from that. So I'm really excited. I really, really enjoyed the last couple pages, like the last page. Those Luffy panels were my favorite part of the chapter for sure. Bromajin, thanks for the 5. Bro Morj, your Gear 5th video is going through a crazy aging experience. I think it's I think it's been on a good up and down roller coaster because it's delivering on the things that I hoped that it would. Chris, thanks for the 5. Morj seems not like most likely that the Blackbeard Pirates fed Luffy in order to fulfill their mission. It seems most likely the Blackbeard Pirates... I don't know about that. I think maybe we get a flashback from Luffy to confirm or deny whether that's the case. Um, Stride Shaka, thanks for the 2. Smile on Death, D Octor Vegapunk, Vega D Punk. I just don't know if everyone that smiles is necessarily a D. I don't know if that's definitely the case. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. You think Dragon will show up by the end of Egghead, bringing flowers to Vegapunk's grave alone, like after the O'Hara incident? That would be funny. People would roast Dragon a lot. I don't know if that's going to be the case, because the O'Hara incident was like a grand tragedy that happened, right? Like a genocide. Is Dragon so close to Vegapunk that he would do that? Because it felt like they had a bit of a contentious, almost like an old camaraderie relationship, but also a bit of a contentious relationship. So, I don't know. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Alexandre, thanks for the 20. I'm the only one tired of the whole running, escaping situations with the Straw Hats. It's getting old, especially with the members outside the big 3. They need to get some lessons from the Blackbeard Pirates. The Blackbeard Pirates run away a lot too. The Blackbeard Pirates literally ran away. They literally ran away as soon as they saw Saturn. They're the kings of running away. They run away way more than the Straw Hats. The Blackbeard Pirates almost exclusively run away unless they're in like extremely advantageous situations where they can gang up on other characters, like an old dying Whitebeard or an old dying Garp when they have Aokiji on their side. Like, the Blackbeard Pirates generally run away. You can literally look at like when the red-haired pirates show up, they peace out. When Akainu showed up pre-time skip, they ran away. The Blackbeard Pirates are the masters of only fighting when they're in an advantageous situation. Saturn, they grab his ability, they're out of there. I do think that the Straw Hats could do more in this combat scenario, because there's so many Vice Admirals to go around. I think it's just kind of sad. Like, I'm not asking for extended fights, but I would love to see just the Straw Hats actually do something against the Vice Admirals, like just get some, like the way Dorian Broggy took some of them out, you know? Christian Braza, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. No, we covered this. Let me see if I'm missing some supers real quick. I know I'm missing some down there, but let me see if I missed some earlier. Alright, so... yeah, I mean... okay, so Plasticola says, you see Brook versus Doc Q, since his fruit is kind of like the plague. I think it would be cool for Brook's character. Brook was away when Queen did it. I think Doc Q goes to Chopper, right? Doc Q goes to Chopper. Also, I want to do a quick poll. What do we think about Bonnie joining the crew? I've got some questions for you guys. Hey, Eric, thanks for the 2. Looking forward to SmackDown next week. Hype. Yeah. I would rather Luffy not defeat both. I mean, I think it's a really cool flex what he did this chapter. We get it. Luffy can handle them both, probably. Just for the sake of other Straw Hats mattering somewhat, I would love for Sanji to still handle Kizaru or something like that in the end. Or Sanji to at least hold off Kizaru for a bit. Or help in some way. You know? Bonnie joining the crew. Alright, that's interesting, because I think last chapter when we did this poll, it was a bit more 50-50. Behano, thanks a lot. I used to think that Saturn dies this arc, but now I think he will live until the final battle and fight either Bonnie or Sanji. Also, he felt genuinely scary this week. Love the design and powers. His expression this week was really, really good. Oda's doing a phenomenal job drawing him. I think Oda's doing a phenomenal job drawing Saturn to look really menacing. I don't think Saturn has been super... I think he's been used a bit like a punching bag as of late. So maybe establishing just how effective he actually is would be good soon. But I agree that art-wise it's really good. As for him dying this arc, I don't know. I just feel like him ending up at the bottom of the ocean is kind of what I envision for his storyline ending. I do think that with Bonnie... so not Bonnie, Katarina Devon being able to copy his ability, it just has to come into play in some way. Not has to, but it's likely. You know? It's like, why write that otherwise? Solaris Robur, thanks for the 5. Yo, finally catching a stream live. Lunch break in Australia, lol. Will Carabao info dumping Blackbeard will mean we have returned to Fishman Island / Wano arcs? So I'm going to hold off on talking about that because I think it's definitely the case for one or the other. I think Wano is more likely to me. But I'm holding off on that because there's a full comprehensive video that I kind of want to do on that. So I'm not going to get into that here. But I do think there's a good chance. CBMX, thanks for the 5. Is there a cue for weekly reader derangement syndrome, RWDS? I feel that anytime we have a setup or transition chapter, people lose their minds. This wasn't a setup or transition chapter. This was just a chapter. This was I don't know. This was like, or are you saying that chapters outside of this one can be kind of I don't know. Yeah, ones outside of this one, I could see. Yeah, like people can get like, you know, we have a very active community. One Piece readers, you know, we love our manga. We are used to having a lot to talk and speculate about. So anytime we go a week without that much happening or things being set up, you know, we kind of get, like, readers just kind of get, go a little stir crazy, you know? It's just the way it is. There's no cure for it. The cure is, there is a cure, which is, the cure for weekly reader derangement syndrome is to no longer be a weekly reader. You just wait, you let the chapters pile up, and you read it like that. I found I enjoy Chainsaw Man so much more following that method. I'm just going to let Chainsaw Man chapters pile up. The problem is that you just get spoiled, man. Just getting spoiled on Chainsaw Man really sucks. But I've learned to kind of do it in batches. It's just more enjoyable that way. Patty G, thanks for the 10. Kizaru shot a beam through the same place Vegapunk was stabbed to cauterize the wound. The agenda is still alive. I don't know, man. Also, I roll my eyes every time they name a Vice Admiral. So useless, LMAO. Keep on Morjin. I don't know, man. Like, okay, I definitely could see Vegapunk dying by the end of the arc. I think people are jumping the gun to say he's dead. It's fucking One Piece. Like, him dying without any sort of final shit, like, it's just, I don't know. So him stabbing to cauterize the wound, maybe, or he could have just let Sanji get away with him. That's another thing to do if he's actually trying to help. He could have just been like, too fast for me, you know? Or not even say anything. Like, you don't have to do something right there, you know? But it's possible. And every time they name a Vice Admiral, look, Oda just likes his random side character designs, you know? He just likes them. He likes doing them. I will never forget to this day when Oda revealed the 5... It was like a full chapter centered around the 5 mafia heads of Wano that worked under Hyogoro. And it's just like, dude, I know that you like designing these characters and coming up with names and little personality quirks and stuff for them, but if they're not adding anything whatsoever to the story, I still think it's nice to get the Vice Admiral names. I don't roll my eyes because it's like, they're still Vice Admirals. We could see them in combat situations in the future, and it just adds a little bit to the One Piece world. Like, you know, like, for me, it's kind of like, do these characters need to exist? Yeah, we need the Vice Admirals to add stakes to the Buster Call, even if they're not going to be that effective. It feels like a Buster Call. When it gets down to, like, okay, we've got the 5 mafia heads of old Wano being introduced in the Wano arc, and they're taking up a chapter and then do nothing, I'm just like, all right, I guess we just had to have those for no reason. But I like getting the Vice Admiral names here. Obi-Wan Kenobi, thanks for the 2. Saturn's silent staring seems very similar to Emu's. I don't know. There's something a little more inhuman about the way that Saturn was staring here. It was a very cool expression. It seemed more animalistic, or insect-like, I suppose you could say. Emu seems like there's more malevolence or intent behind it, but we also haven't seen Emu's face just yet, so maybe I'm speaking too soon. Yokai Gota says Bro gets punched once and gets called a bum. Are we talking about Saturn? Because no, Saturn's gotten punched a lot. He got punched by Saturn. He got punched like 50 times by Luffy. Sorry, Saturn got punched by Kuma and got sent flying across the island. He gets punched like 50 times by Luffy. He got his abilities stolen by the Blackbeard pirates. And then he's again getting handled by Luffy at the same time as Kizaru. Not saying that Saturn's, like, still won't turn out to be really, really strong. I'm sure he will. It's just that he has been a bit of a punching bag as of late, right, in varying ways. Cigar Verk, always good to see you, man. Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months. In the last panel, they showed Vegapunk's heartbeat goes flat right by the TV. Luffy is being made to do too much for no reason. Oda could have easily used different Straw Hats. I mean, yeah, like, there's no reason that, like, when Luffy can do so well against Saturn and Kizaru, that ultimately, like, with all these other Straw Hats here, Vegapunk should have ultimately gotten hit like this. A lot of it was just like moving them out of the picture and having them do different things so that they're not in the line of fire. But I also think people are reading way too much into the flat line on the TV. I don't know if Vegapunk is dying here. I think he still dies by the end of the arc, and I've said that multiple times. Like, if someone's gonna die here, it's probably Vegapunk. But I don't know if this, like, that moment was the moment. Like, it's Oda, he fucks around with shit like that, you know? There have been moments throughout One Piece that I could think of where it's like, a chapter ends where it's like, or like something happens and it's like, oh, this character is dead, and then the next chapter it's like, well, not really, not quite, you know? Ramen Stains, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 16 months. Hey, Mr. Milk, been a bit since I caught a stream. Do you think Doll/Saul connection is gonna amount to anything given that the Giants are here? I think people are reading a lot into it because it's Doll and they like Doll's design. It could just as easily be a little lore thing, like making the world feel alive, that, oh, one of the characters that worked under Saul is naturally a vice admiral herself now. Just reminds you that Saul was a important member of the Marines as a vice admiral himself, and just makes history feel more real. So there's that angle of it. But yeah, sure, there could be something there. I don't know how much Oda would want to do with the character. I think he definitely put more design work into her than in other characters. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. Oda had Dressrosa Zoro clash and kind of push back an admiral, but won't let a post Wano Sanji at least clash. Him being a hype tool is canon now. I think they're different situations. I would count Sanji deflecting the laser as Sanji clashing with Kizaru. You know, he deflected, like, that's clashing with an admiral's attack. We know that lasers are one of Kizaru's go-to moves. Zoro, you know, he clashed. The full exchange, he attacks Fujitora. Fujitora sends him down with gravity. Zoro gets out of his gravity and pushes Fujitora back a little bit with his own move. I don't know, man. I think people probably praise this moment. Like, I personally put more into this moment with Sanji and Kizaru compared to that Dressrosa moment for Zoro, just because I do think that Kizaru is a bit more serious in this than Fujitora was around that period of time. I also think that, you know, Kizaru's, like, just Kizaru's lasers are kind of a staple of the series, whereas we don't really know how to place, like, what level of importance do we place, like, Fujitora using the gravity on Zoro? You know, like, it's just, yeah, Kizaru's lasers are just, they're a staple of the series, right? We've never seen anyone really do anything about them. I get, like, Fujitora is more of a new character. We don't really know what to say about, like, how big of a deal is Zoro getting out of his gravity. We don't know. The Final Storm, thanks to the 5. Morj, not designed, Doll was under Saul. I know it's not, like, I know that, but I'm saying that that doesn't necessarily mean that Doll is being made to be a significant character just because she has history with Saul. It might be the case, but it could just be Oda just adding a bit of natural world building or something, right? There are many times in the story that it's like Who's Who was part of CP9, right? Like, that doesn't mean that he necessarily, like, his relationship to like, he's gonna pop back up in a future Cypher Pole arc, like this arc with Lucci or something, right? A lot of it, like, there's many cases where you see, like, oh, this character just knows of or was in the same organization as this other character, and Oda drops these sort of things and connections. Robin may not be the only one to meet Saul after death. There could be something between them at Elbaf. Yeah, I definitely agree that there could be. I'm just saying that I wouldn't jump to that conclusion just off of this. The Lowman, thanks for the 2. Sanji, Lucci, and Zoro greater than Yamato, not even a debate. I definitely think that there's... You guys know how I feel about Yamato, and I'm definitely not putting... I definitely wouldn't be confidently like Sanji, Lucci, and Zoro greater than Yamato, like, that much. I definitely would not say that. I definitely don't think Lucci is, because Advanced Conquerors Haki. But again, it's like... We need clarification. If it turns out Zoro's been using Advanced Conquerors Haki against Lucci the entire time, then it opens up the debate, to me, that Lucci could be above Yamato or something. But, nah, I don't, like, come on. I don't, like, I dislike Yamato, and I'm not even going to be like, oh, Yamato is below all 3 of them. I don't think she's below all 3 of them. Everything and nothing, thanks to the 5. Zora's the only one who protects. Lucci stabbed Sentomaru in front of Gear 5th Luffy. And Vegapunk got stabbed. Lucci stabbed Sentomaru in front of Gear 5th Luffy. And Vegapunk got stabbed in front of both Luffy and Sanji's for Luffy literally protected them this chapter. What more do you want? Luffy's been doing everything this battle so far. What more could you want from Luffy? Lucci stabbed Sentomaru in front of Gear 5th Luffy, and Vegapunk got stabbed in front of both Luffy and Sanji. I do think Sanji really dropped the ball this chapter, though. That was embarrassing. That was very embarrassing. That's like kind of crazy embarrassing. I don't know what Oda was doing there. Uchek, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 17 months, man. Once again, all I can say is what a chapter. Yeah, this arc is, like, the finale of this arc has really been hitting. Really, really been hitting. Definitely an all-time great arc it's shaping up to be. I mean, as soon as Kuma's flashback ended, I was like, yeah, this is top 5, maybe One Piece arcs for me. It still depends on how the finale goes. Because I might have spoken too soon there, but the finale is now, I feel like, living up to it. Well, let me ask you guys, I'm curious. How are you enjoying the Egghead? Wait, how would you rate? You rate the Egghead climax so far? I'll give it 10, 9, 8. I give like a 7 in case somebody just really doesn't like it, but I doubt many people would vote that. But you never know. Yeah, sorry, I read something funny. Let me keep going in order. Ignorant Weed, thanks. Do you think the post-Kuma backstory chapters are the best in the series? BTW, I think you missed my members chat. Oh, I'm sorry, man. What was your members chat? There was a little stretch that I might have missed some members. If I missed some members chats, then please let the mods know. And hopefully they can voice it for you. Or please just type it again. So Ignorant Weed, just please, if you can message it again. Sorry about that. Yeah, most people, like, I wouldn't say that so I think Kuma's backstory is a 10. I wouldn't necessarily say the climax of this arc is a 10 for me so far, but we're just getting into it. I would say it's like a 9 or 8 or something like that so far. It varies chapter to chapter, right? Like, this chapter I'm kind of rating it high because I thought the final panels with Luffy were really cool. And things are still just snowballing, you know? Yeah, I'm just rating parts of the arc, not the whole arc itself just yet. We got to see how it all plays out, you know? Like Drum Kingdom has one of my favorite flashbacks, top 3 favorite flashbacks in the story, but then obviously the climax of Drum Kingdom is not that good. I mean, it's okay. It's alright, right? It's alright. Egghead Island, not the same thing. I think the actual flashback, obviously my favorite in the series, and then the climax is also really, really good right now. I wonder if Vegapunk and Kuma both die this arc. I wonder if both of them are out. Because if only one's dying, I feel like it's got to be Kuma. Kuma's the most important to die. He just has to die. King G, thanks for the 5. Just like I said, Lanji is a bum. He got tossed a breadcrumb last week, and Lanji fans ate it up just to be brought back to reality. He's a scrub. World clears. So I just want to, like, remind people. So, okay. I just want to remind people. Sometimes people think that I'm too harsh on. So, like, the Sanji chapter happened last week, right? And I was talking during the stream with the Sanji chapter. I was like, Sanji fans, like, celebrate, hold on to this, cherish this. Like, this is big. This doesn't happen. Like, you know, just revel in this because it might not be like that in the future. And Sanji fans got very upset. Who remembers this? Who remembers this? Because I was just talking from experience. Because this is how it is throughout the story, right? Oda does not hesitate to, in many instances, not make Sanji look good. That doesn't mean that ultimately he's not going to make Sanji look good. Like Sanji will always get his moments in due time. It's just that in due time can be very nebulous, you know? So Sanji got a big moment. I think this was his biggest moment, I would say, in a long, long time. At least this arc. Like, this was a really, really good moment for him. Definitely looked better than Zoro for sure, if you're comparing him to Zoro, as many do, in that chapter. He got a really, really cool moment. I told you guys, like, cherish this, etc. And so many of the comments were just like, Morj, what do you like? Morj, you must hate Sanji. You think that what are you talking about? Why should we cherish? This is what it's always like. I'm like, no, it's not what it's always like. And now fucking look at this chapter where, yeah, it's kind of back to, I mean, I was just telling it like we all know it is. Like, we've read the story. We've seen like how many months and years does Sanji sometimes just go through slander? Like, it's long stretches where the character just sometimes gets slandered and made fun of and memed and stuff like that. And it takes a while for something really, really good to happen for him. I remember during the Wano arc, it was like literally like 2 years or something till finally he got the Queen moment, and that stuff's good. That's great. Wings of the Pirate King, etc. I'm just saying, like, you should cherish those moments because Oda does not hand them out to Sanji as frequently, and Oda does tend to throw Sanji under the bus once in a while, so it's important to cherish the moments where Sanji's on top, right? That was last week. Now this is this week. I don't understand why Sanji fans were upset that I'm just like, yeah, this is good. This is a big win. Let's all like cling on to this win. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's got like, like, what do you mean we have to cherish this? I'm like, this is why you got to cherish it, because you never know what the next week it could be right back where you started. I don't know. I still think he's had a really good performance this arc. At least if you're comparing it to like Zoro, I think last chapter was better than anything Zoro's done this arc. I also think that Sanji and Zoro will both still look good by the end of this arc. I still think that's the case. I'm just saying, like, just enjoy the good moments when you get them, because then the next week everything could just be flipped, right? It could flip back the next following week. Maybe next week Sanji's kicking Kizaru's ass. I don't know. But, when that comes around, cherish that. That's all I'm saying. Lesson learned, right? Cherish that if and when it happens. Because you don't know, maybe the next week Sanji's letting, I don't know, fucking Lilith die or something like that. You just never know. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. JWP, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 14 months. Missed the last couple streams because of homework, but love listening to VODs on my way to work. I'm always happy when I hear that people listen to this stuff on their way to work or school or college or whatever it may be. I don't know why, because you have so many options to listen to for podcasts, so I'm happy that you use me to fill that space and time. Also, you've been talking about Punk Records being released for like the past 25 streams. Something akin to that is happening. Yeah, at least the information about Punk Records is being released. Not quite in the way that I thought. I thought that Luffy would break Punk Records and all the information would come out like that. But it is happening. Vegapunk's information of Punk Records is being shared to the world, so I'm glad that I was ultimately right about that, even if not down to the details. It's really exciting for the implications of what that could do for the world. Not really an ostrich, thanks to the 5. With the truth of the world revealed to the people, the world government might drop every pretense and go full blatantly tyrannical / great cleansing mode. The truth of the world revealed to the people, the world government might drop every pretense and go full blatantly tyrannical / great. Yeah, I mean, so that's something that I've talked about in videos in the past, that for the great cleansing to happen, there needs to be a trigger. It goes back to the same video that I was just breaking up about Punk Records being destroyed. I should retitle that video to more accurately represent what the theory is. But yeah, like, Punk Records being destroyed definitely could could change the entire state of, like, how citizens of the world feel about the world government, which could lead to the final war kicking off. Because you need a trigger at the end of the day. Because at the moment, most people don't know that the world government's bad. Gurpo5, thanks for the 2. Boneless Wings of the Pirate King versus Red King. Versus Red King. Boneless Wings of the Pirate King versus Red King. I don't know what that means, but I do think that the Wings of the Pirate King are not looking so hot right now. They're definitely not. Let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Old Green Knees, thanks for the 2. The damage overkill on Vegapunk makes me feel like Vegapunk lives. That's all I'm saying, man. I think it's kind of comical. Rodolfo, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 12 months, man. When I saw Saturn's face, it reminded me of the Awakened Guards from Impel Down. Oh, that's an interesting idea. My theory is Saturn's fruit own will wants to destroy Nika and is overpowering Saturn, thus causing Saturn to look like that. I don't know about that part, but it does seem like maybe there's levels you can go to with Awakening where it's more and more insane. I don't know. It's interesting that, yeah, like, the Impel Down Guards, their version of Awakening is different from what we've seen from other Devil Fruits Awakenings since then. And it kind of mirrors Saturn's. Pointy Extra, thanks for the 2. Thoughts on Kizaru mirroring Aokiji in Ohara? Ooh, that's a great little point right there, because this is meant to mirror Ohara quite a bit. I love that point. That's a great point. Big respect to that. Everyone, props to Pointy Extra. I did not think about it like that. This could be Kizaru's Ohara moment, essentially, especially because it hits so close to home with Bonnie, Vegapunk, these type of characters right there. Abrar Ahmed, thanks so much for catching the super. Mismember message from Ignorant Weed. Thanks so much, man, for catching this. Ender Anami, you as well. You have to choose 5 One Piece YouTubers for your crew. Who would you take and what roles would you give them? Oh, that's fun. Okay. Choose 5 One Piece YouTubers for my crew. Who would I take? What roles would I give them? Ah, shit, so do we actually have to survive sailing? I don't want any One Piece YouTubers then, man. If we have to survive out in the wild sailing, I don't think any of them are built like that. Myself included, like, I would love to sail a boat, but I need to learn. I'm not equipped. I don't know what we would be doing out there. We would all die. We don't know what we'd be doing out there. 5 One Piece YouTubers for my crew. Who would I take? What roles would I give them? We just wouldn't make it. I'm essentially sentencing 5 people to death. If I'm sentencing 5 people to death, I guess I could do that. All right, which One Piece YouTubers would I sentence to death? Okay, we'll take down Brago. We'll take down Jay. Ohara for old time's sake. I'll kill Randy. I'll kill Hidden Island. I'll kill Parvision. Yeah, let's ship those 5 off. Do I have to join? Do I have to be on this crew? Do I have to be on this crew? I'm gonna be sick that day. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I will send them off into the into the great beyond. All right. Yeah, they're all dead. I'm sorry about that, fellas, but it's just the way it is. None of them are gonna survive, so I won't be on the ship. Anyway, Tai Sen NJ, thanks for the 5. I hope Luffy just eats the Celestial Dragon. That's the twist I need, Oda. Are we Chainsaw Man now? Behanoid, thanks a lot. Side note, Reiju being fruity in cover, yo. Reiju is always, you know, she is written to be a flirtatious character from the very beginning. What pisses me off is Uta in the cover. Why the like, it's One Piece's most iconic female characters on the cover, and then fucking Uta thrown in. What the fuck, man? Why? What the fuck? This fake, not real. She's not a real. Why? I don't understand Oda's obsession with Uta. She doesn't even make. She's not even in the story. For people that never watched the movie, which is gonna be like plenty of people that are actually just reading his manga, they're gonna like. What are they thinking of this cover? It doesn't even make sense. I don't know. Like, am I crazy? Why is Uta on there? What is she doing on there? She's not a real character. You know how fucking bizarre it is? Like, imagine if Oda writes in like a new version of the flashback, like Luffy, Ace, and Sabo toasting their sake cups, and then you just have Uta, fucking Uta toasting a 4th cup, and it's like, oh yeah, and our like fucking little sister Uta, she was always a part of the crew. It's like, what the? This is not a real character. It's a fucking movie made-up character that never appears in the story. She's not, like, it's like Luffy had an imaginary friend or something like that, and we're supposed to take it seriously. I hate this character so much. I think Uta is probably my, like, just the existence of the character annoys me, because for me it fucks with the canon of the story. It's just like, this character didn't exist, and we're being gaslit into thinking that she was just around all the time. It like, Uta's just being written into scenes that she was never in. It was like Luffy, Uta, and Shanks, and they were best friends or whatever. No, that's not the story I know. I know Oda was not thinking about that when he was writing chapter 1. Right? He wasn't writing Romance Dawn and being like, yeah, and secretly Luffy is like a sister figure, and she's like Shanks' daughter, and she's here too. And I just won't draw her in. It's like, no, shut the fuck, what the fuck are you talking about? It annoys me in terms of the canon of the story. You get what I'm saying? Not a Pro 64, thanks for the 5. Morj, please reread the final panels quickly. Vegapunk starts flatlining, activating a pre-recorded video. It's not current Vegapunk, dude's gonna die. I understand that. However, flatlining does not mean to me that Vegapunk is dead because it's One Piece. It's One Piece. I don't think Vegapunk is dead. He could die before the end of this arc. But I still feel like this is not... I'm not taking this as like, okay, we just lost Vegapunk or anything like that. Billy Bitchcakes, thanks for the 5. Saturn is an Ushioni, so very likely that Mustache is a Baku and Mars is an Itsumaid. Gandhi is a Kurobozu, based on its lore. Blonde might be Chochinobake. What? I don't understand 50% of the words you just said. Mustache is a Baku, and Mars is an Itsumade. Gandhi is a Kurobozu. Blonde might be a Chochinobake. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what these are. I can Google them a little bit. What's a Kurobozu? Because I feel like I've heard that one. Kurobozu, Kazuki Kurobozu. Kozabaru, that's what I was thinking of. Okay, so they're all like horror monsters is what you're saying? That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Andrew Aces, I think you missed my last super chat. Let me... No, I'm getting to it now. You were next up. I'm catching them in order. The only ones that I skip ahead for are member chats. So, if you think your super has been missed, just wait and see if I get to the super that came after you. If I get the super that came after you, then it's been missed. But, like, the one after you is Akash Panda, so I haven't gotten to him yet. Andrew A, thanks for the 5. Do you think Vegapunk or Shaka could put their consciousness in the ancient robot, becoming like a sort of Mechamaru from Jujutsu Kaisen communication/intel device? Oh, that would be cool. I don't know if Vegapunk would do... Actually, no, that's a very Vegapunk thing to do. He likes transporting consciousness into one thing or the other. Fuck, Vegapunk and an ancient robot? That would be interesting. I just don't know if that fits like the symbolism of what the ancient robot is. It seems to have a mind of its own, or some sort of inherited spirit type of thing, so I'm not sure. Kosh Panda, Bonnie's fruit did not work on Saturn. Imagine if Blackbeard follows through with his plan only to later realize that Devon's fruit didn't work on Saturn. Lol. Bonnie's fruit didn't work on Saturn. Let me see. It didn't work on Saturn for what reason? Why didn't it work? Isn't it possible because of like, I don't think Oda would have had Katarina Devon I don't think Oda would have had Katarina Devon get that ability off of Saturn if not for it actually having value in some way, you know? Reo Chia, thanks for the 5. Uta is a fanfic character made by Tsukishima from Bleach, and he used his Book of N to put her in the main story. That is what it feels like. For those of you who don't know, in Bleach, there's a character partway through the story. I don't care if I spoil this for you guys if you're not Bleach fans, because it's Bleach, it's been out for forever, and also this is widely considered to be one of the worst arcs in the series. There's a character whose ability is to literally insert, literally insert change the past of people's lives. So insert changes into people's lives to make, like, change their canon history, essentially. Which is a really interesting ability. It actually leads to a fun fight against Byakuya, for example. Yeah, and that is essentially what Uta feels like. It's like, here's this pic from Luffy's childhood. Here's a character that definitely didn't fucking exist in Luffy's childhood. I didn't mind it for the movie. I'm just like, okay, it's for the movie, it's for whatever. But it's the weird persistence of just now including Uta in lots of places that she doesn't belong, like spreads with the Straw Hats, spreads with the rest of One Piece's female cast as though she's one of One Piece's most iconic female characters. It's just really weird now that he keeps bringing it back. You know what I mean? Island Sanji, thanks for the 2. What's the next move for Sanji after this chapter? Dude, I hope he fights or something. Like, help against Kizaru. I don't think it should be up to Luffy to have to handle Saturn and Kizaru. I think it makes for a great moment. Like, an exciting moment, for sure. And a big, like, a really cool spread. But actually, like, Luffy actually having to solo those two, I think it would just be sad, because I just don't think, like, I feel like with Zoro and Sanji especially, with the rest of the Straw Hats, I want them to do more, but at the same time, their primary relevance is not combat. With Zoro and Sanji, their primary relevance is combat, right? It's just always been that way throughout the story, right? There's literally only been one arc where Sanji's cooking was important, and that was Whole Cake Island, and that was an arc specifically written to emphasize his cooking. In general, Zoro and Sanji's relevance to resolving the conflict of plots is their combat, right? So looking at that, it just feels weird that we're getting very close to the end of the final, like we're getting very close to the end of One Piece. We're in the final saga, and you would think that we would be getting more for them action-wise right now, so that they can kind of still be really relevant as we're approaching the biggest challenges, you know? And Luffy gets more than enough fights. He got, like, this arc alone, Lucci, Seraphim, Kizaru, Saturn, Kizaru and Saturn. Like, it's a lot being given to this character, and there's so many matchups to go around. So I don't know. I do think it's just a little moment. Yeah, Clint, I would agree. I think it's just a little moment. I hope that Sanji's still relevant. My hope is still that Zoro's able to take care of Lucci, and then it's Sanji and Zoro against Kizaru. I would love to see that. But at the very least, even if we don't get that, I would like to see Sanji holding off Kizaru while Luffy takes on Saturn. Newt Worgen, thanks for the 2. Kizaru Redemption is dead after he murked Vegapunk. I just don't think that Kizaru's ever going to get necessarily... This is why I like characters like Kizaru and Aokiji, because it's not necessarily like they're going to get clean redemptions, you know? I speculated that Aokiji might die at the end of the day, because I think that his character, the path that he's walked, is too murky, very morally gray. I think he could go out doing something really, really good to kind of redeem himself in a way, but I don't think he deserves a happily ever after type of ending at the end of it all, right? Because Aokiji was responsible for most of the citizens dying in Ohara, right? He was responsible for the deaths of, like, an entire island. Like, he helped. He was a big part of that. Yeah, so Kizaru, he might change, and he might make some good, like, some positive steps to, like, I don't think he's going to come out of this being, like, a good guy character necessarily, right? I mean, or a morally cleansed character, let's say. He could have a new, better approach to the future and maybe break off from the Marines, but I don't think he's going to come out of this being a morally cleansed character. He might get a big redemption moment, but he's clearly already done so much wrong that I don't think Oda's trying to go the path of, oh, this is, Kizaru's just a good guy now, you know? This isn't like Dragon Ball where Vegeta, like, murdered planets and shit, and, like, everyone kind of just lets it slide down the line because he's, like, a good dad now. Or if you want to get to Dragon Ball Super, like fucking Frieza. Single the Oop. Or Bingle the Oop, sorry. Member for 16... Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 16 months. I feel like he just finds drawing Uta fun. He designed a character, never got to use it in its own work. The promotion post Wano was lame, though. Yeah, I guess, like, you can't blame the guy. But I think for me, it's more so just, like, color spreads are really cool. He doesn't do them that often. It's always nice to have a new color spread. So, it's just like seeing a bunch of Straw Hats. Like, I know this one wasn't it, but like a color spread with all the Straw Hats and then fucking made up imaginary fan fiction gaslighting character thrown in there. It kind of ruins the color spread to me because it's just so, it's just like, what the fuck am I even looking at? This isn't like a gang of friends. This is like an actual gang of friends that I've followed for 1,100 chapters, and then this made up character that, they're all made up characters. But then you guys get what I'm saying. Porsche, thanks for the 5. Saturn's mind gone. Will he hear Vegapunk's broadcast? I don't know if his mind is gone, but he's definitely gone into another state. Also, Sanji says he's not pretending to be human. Maybe he ate a human fruit and is a beast. Oh no, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but because he does seem to take pride in celestial dragon blood and everything like that. I do think he would be... I don't think he'd have the status if he's like an actual animal. I think you have to be like an actual celestial dragon. I think what Oda's going for here is more so, the symbolism, the idea that the celestial dragons, they present themselves as these pure, noble gods and such, but in actuality, like, this better reflects them, the monsters, demons they are inside. The Low Man, thanks for the 2. Kuzan is moral. Akaino's evil self is responsible. No, you're, like, Kuzan's complicit. Aokiji's complicit. He's not as bad as Akainu, but if you go back and read the Ohara chapters, Kuzan he wasn't planning on killing the civilian ship, but he was down to kill all the scholars, and his stance was, he and Saul talk about it, his stance was, look, it doesn't, like, Saul was like, does this seem right to you the scholars, blah 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 blah. They didn't like, have they really done anything wrong? And Aokiji's stance was basically like, well, I don't know if they did anything wrong, but if the world government says it's wrong, well then it's not for me to say. Like, I'm good with it. You can go back and read their entire exchange, but that's basically where he's at. He's like, I'm not going to judge you for what you think is right and wrong, but I'm not going to try and decide that for myself. I'm just going to do whatever I'm told. Aokiji's 100% complicit. Like, his hands are not clean. It's the same as Kizaru right now. Kizaru, it's a little worse because what he's doing is personal, right? Like, he's actually attacking someone that he became friends with to a degree, right? So I would agree that Kizaru is a little worse than Aokiji, because Aokiji at the very least spared Saul, right? But he still did stomp all over everything Saul was doing. He helped Robin at the end, but only because he was essentially... one, we don't know if he would have saved Saul if not for the civilian ship incident. The moment the civilian ship incident happened, and that was blown up, so go back and reread that entire scene. Civilians were blown up. That was the moment that Aokiji realized, wait, I might be doing something really bad here. I don't know. So that was the moment that changed his mind. After that, he stopped Saul, froze him, but he didn't kill him, right? And he let Robin go. It is entirely possible he would have killed both of them if he hadn't been shaken up by the civilian ship incident, because that was the moment that he realized, wait a second, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here. Up till then, he seemed like he was just going to be following through with the world government's orders. If they were telling him that Robin's a criminal that needs to be killed, it's very, very possible that he would have gone through with it. We never are going to get the answer to that question, but if you go back and read through that scene, he seems pretty dead set on doing what he's supposed to be doing until the civilian ship is blown up, and he's like, wait, maybe what I'm doing is not so good. So Kuzan's not moral. I think that's the fun of his character. He's a very morally gray character. Behanoid, thanks a lot. Luffy and Straw Hats escape, but they fail to save Vegapunk even with his last big fuck you to the world government. Thus, final saga kind of opens with the main character's giant failure. I don't think it needs to open with the main character's giant failure. I think that would also make them look kind of undeserving of their new Yonko status. This arc has also had characters doubting them as Yonko. I feel like the general vibe for this is supposed to be like a light piercing through the evil of the world government. What Luffy's supposed to represent to Bonnie, right? What they're supposed to represent, basically revealing the truth to the world and everything like that. The world government failing to capture the Straw Hat crew, despite the Straw Hat crew spitting in the world government's face. I don't know if this is a failure arc. Tom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months, man. Just got here, but this chapter gave me a little hope that the lower Strats will get to fight some Vice Admirals. It did. I don't know. I'm surprised it gave you hope for that. I hope you're right. As always, love the videos, and I wait the Wano review. I will get on that for sure. You guys, I think I've been clear it's not happening this month, though. That's for sure. Fatingo, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 17 months. Holy shit, man. Thank you for the prolonged support. Living in Japan, I cannot underestimate how popular Uta is here. Oh my god, oh no, you're breaking my heart, man. How popular Uta is here to the point that I was running a marathon and the local band from my school played one of her film Red songs there. Kids breathe for her. Fuck. So that's why? Oh my god. I don't understand Japanese culture sometimes. I just don't get it. I understand some things are just really big there that aren't that big here. Like, Chopper was turned into a mascot because mascot culture is really, really big in Japan. I'm sure we have similar things that I'm just not making the connection to. People are the same all over. But how it manifests in different cultures is different. So, yeah, I don't know. With the Uta, I just don't think that's... I mean, anime culture is obviously not even as big in the U.S., so I get it. It's different culture, don't really understand, but also this might be crazy, but I don't even think the music's that good. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. Fun fact, Zoro and Luffy are the only two guaranteed a 1v1 in any arc there in post-time skip. BTW, Oda doesn't know how to draw fights without Luffy at this point. Oda really loves Luffy. Like, Oda loves his main character. He loves his main character. Obviously, he loves all the Straw Hats, but I feel like... So, okay, if we were... I truly get the sense, like, and from interviews and everything that Oda said, he loves Luffy in the sense, like, that this is the character that is his ideal vision for, he enjoys the hell out of writing Luffy at all points, and, like, the entire concept of One Piece runs through Luffy, right? With the Straw Hats, it's like, okay, as the story's going on, he's coming up with new personalities and new characters to add to this crew. I'm sure he had a lot of them planned out, but you can even see his old sketches, and you can see that the concepts for a lot of Straw Hats changed over time, right? So, whereas he loves all the Straw Hats, ultimately, it's not like he was writing One Piece with it in mind, like, okay, what's Robin going to be doing every arc? And how do I really use her in the story every arc? How do I use Frankie in the story every arc, you know? It's just not what he was thinking. And the story gets to have very many arcs, like a lot of arcs, a lot of different storylines, a lot of different, side characters added in. I'm sure that sometimes he'll write side characters that he has more fun writing than the Straw Hats, you know? That's just naturally going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he started writing Trafalgar Law and liked writing Trafalgar Law more than some of the Straw Hats that he wrote, right? That's just naturally going to happen over time. But Luffy's his favorite, right? Luffy's his favorite. He even talked about, there was an interview where he was talking about in the first, like, leading up to the first popularity poll that came out for One Piece, he was talking about how he was legitimately worried that Luffy wouldn't get first in the popularity poll. He was like, I was worried that Shanks or Zoro would get first in the popularity poll. So that's a concern. He wants Luffy to be everyone's favorite character. He will never do anything that threatens Luffy's status there. And he's always just going to enjoy giving Luffy moments the most. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, for sure. I'm definitely not saying it's a bad thing. I think it would be even better if he also was able to spread some more of that love around to, maybe Brook or Frankie while Frankie's on the island of the person from whom he learned pretty much all of his engineering in the last 2 years, That would be nice. It's not even about fights. Like, I expect Luffy to get fights. Like, Wakiki is saying Luffy has, 20 fights post-time skip, while some Straw Hats have, 1 or 2. That's understandable, right? I expect Luffy to get the most fights. Zoro and Sanji should get more fights just because that's generally their role and their contribution in arcs, right? But it's not even just about fights. It's kind of like, what are the other Straw Hats doing? They're kind of just... They've been in... for the last 15, 20 chapters, they've been in vehicles moving around from place to place with... all of them having, sort of vague objectives that, Brook's helping move the ship. He's getting the Sunny back over and stuff. It just feels very, checking off, some to-dos, they're not, they're at the very least not being given exciting tasks or tasks that really play to their characters or give them opportunities for character writing, The Low Man, thanks for the 2. I judge it based on on actions they did directly. Judge what? Straw Hats? Oh, I see what you're saying. In terms of what Kuzan and Akainu did, or Kuzan versus Kizaru did. I agree that Kuzan's not Aokiji's not as bad as Kizaru. I think that you get a nice spectrum where Aokiji was probably the best of the admirals. Kizaru I think is more neutral, and then Akainu's the worst of them. But I don't think it's fair to judge it based why is it judged on the actions they did directly? Because Aokiji's a vice admiral leading a Buster Call charge, right? I think in general, the vice, he's ordering his ships to fire on the scholars at the island, right? That's something that he's doing. He's participating in the Buster Call, the same way that the vice admirals here are ordering their subordinates to fire on the island, Also, to be honest, it's very possible that Saul and Robin would have been able to get away because Saul was fucking shit up, Robin could have gotten away with Saul, Saul protecting her as her friend, but Aokiji put a stop to that because he was the only one that could stop Saul. So he stopped Saul, still let Saul live, and basically just made sure that Robin didn't have a friend, which is funny. GDN, thanks for the 2. Power-wise, it seems the Gorosei are Admiral level. I would agree right now. We don't know how much Saturn represents them, Yeah, let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. I think Frankie could still have a moment. Truck-kun is saying, is it too much to ask for at least one chapter showing Frankie and Vegapunk having a moment, master and pupil? I just don't think of Frankie and Vegapunk as actually master and pupil, because Vegapunk's not teaching him directly. It would be more like if, you're like taking it, like you're a painter and you come across, like you're a painter and you start copying a lot of the painting style of Da Vinci or something like that, right? Like you're learning from him, or you're a scientist and you're reading the textbooks of another scientist or something. Like you're learning from them, but it's not like you're their master and they're your master and you're their pupil or anything. Saturn's not Kizaru level, he's weaker. Let me ask you guys, because at this moment in time, if I'm just basing it off of the things that have happened, Saturn seems less effective than Kizaru. But if I'm guessing who's ultimately supposed to be the big bad of the arc, I still think Saturn could end up seeming just as threatening, if not more so, than Kizaru. Let me ask you guys. Vegapunk ain't even interested in Frankie aside from the laser. Yeah, dude, I mean, Vegapunk's seen everything. Frankie's not that impressive for Vegapunk, right? Okay, we still got people saying Saturn above Kizaru. I still think that'll be the case, but I think it's close. I wouldn't be surprised. There was a point, I mean, it pivoted back and forth, right? As they're approaching the island and we didn't know where the Gorosei are supposed to scale to, it was kind of like, okay, Kizaru's the big deal that's showing up here, right? Then we get the Reverie flashback stuff, and we find out that the Gorosei have transformations, and it's like, okay, fuck, what does that mean? And then Saturn actually transforms, and it's like, holy shit, he's definitely stronger than Kizaru. Then Saturn gets a series of like 15 L's handed to him across 5 chapters, including getting his identity fucking stolen. How embarrassing is that? Like, you show up to Earth for the first time in God knows how many decades to carry out this master plan for your boss, the god of the world, and you literally you get fucked up by every character you run into. A mindless cyborg Kuma, Luffy, who you're supposed to probably kill here, and then the Blackbeard pirates literally identity theft you, like they fucking rob you, take your passport, and run off with it. And then you're probably gonna go down with the island. So Saturn hasn't looked effective. I don't think he's looked competent recently, but he could still be stronger than Kizaru just because of the role that it seems like he's set to play. It seems like it's pretty close. Andrew Anderson, thanks for the 5. Frankie's big moment will be when he takes Vegapunk's dead body and makes it the next battle, Frankie. What? That is fucked up. What the fuck? That's crazy. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. If anything, I think Saturn is the face of the big bad, while Kizaru is the enforcer of the big bad. Two are equally big bad for different reasons. That's how I felt at the beginning of the arc again. Like when we first saw Kizaru and Saturn are heading to the island. Now I'm getting to feel more so like, because usually when Oda kind of does like okay, this guy's the face, but then this guy's the actual big bad, it's more like a Spandam Lucci situation, or even like an Orochi Kaido sort of situation. I don't get like, Saturn's being portrayed to be strong, like a big threat, right? I don't know if Saturn is, I still feel like Saturn is supposed to be the tougher obstacle that they overcome here. But it's hard to say. Like, because the Admirals are a high bar, you know? I don't know. Tom, thanks for the 5. The Sanji panel confused me at first. I thought he was using Future Sight. I can easily see a Straw like Frankie/Brook taking on a Vice Admiral that's hunting Bonnie. I definitely think that the Straws should be able to take on Vice Admirals. Like, the average Vice Admiral should definitely be in their wheelhouse. Because, I stressed this so many times, Bartolomeo was able to defeat a Vice Admiral casually in the bathroom without a scratch on him. He walked into the bathroom, defeated a Vice Admiral, walked out, right? Obviously, not every Vice Admiral is as easy to defeat as that, but the Vice Admirals are definitely in the doable range for most of the Straw Hats, I think, you know? As for Sanji using Future Sight, I don't think he was using Future Sight there. I think he just dropped the ball heavily. Tom says, Morj, give us a meaty kid plus law rant. It's been too long. I talked about them last stream. Leave me alone. I don't want to make that a thing that's the staple of every single stream. JWP, thanks for the 2. It would be insane if Emu had 5 Yonko subordinates. If Emu had 5 Yonko subordinates, it would be so. It would be insane on paper. One, I don't think they're all going to be equally strong, right? But 5 characters that Aespa Convex's true bro got his social security number swiped. Yeah, dude, like it's bad. Like, just think about that. Like, think about how embarrassing it would be if you, in your everyday life, like, you went out to perform a job for your workplace and somebody steals your license, your social security number, your name, date of birth, etc. Like, somebody steals all this valuable information. That would be embarrassing, right? Like, you fucked up, right? You made some mistakes. But this is so much worse because they literally stole him. They stole his identity. They stole, like, not just his paperwork identity. They stole his identity. They can look like him, sound like him. Like, they just stole. They stole the whole look. They're his doppelganger now. You know, that's not good. Yeah, Emu having 5 Yonko level subordinates, I don't think that's the case, but I could see maybe 1 or 2 of them being what we would quote unquote call Yonko level, and then maybe Saturn's on the lower end or something like that. I think I've also seen some people say that, okay, hold on, let me pull up. So this fits with what I kind of believe, which is, if you look at, so if we want to speculate on how strong the Gorosei are, right? Gorosei names. I'm not going to show images on the stream just because, again, chapter reviews or chapter discussion streams, it's just kind of risky to do that sort of thing. But if you look at the, so if we're looking at the Gorosei, right? My personal beliefs are that the most important one is Mercury, simply because if you look throughout One Piece, Mercury is generally, like, if you compile all of the panels and scenes of the Gorosei, you will find that Mercury is generally portrayed slightly of elevated importance to the rest of them. He's just always positioned. He's almost always positioned at the center. At the center, he tends to have a bit more dialogue and lead conversations a bit more than the rest of them. Again, this is very. You really have to stack everything together, and then you see the consistency. He has more individual face panel shots and stuff. Mercury seems a little bit more important. Slightly. You kind of got to look back through and just stack it all together. Mercury's kind of just gotten a slightly bit more portrayal. Then you've got the Gandhi character, Venus Juro, who many believe Zoro will fight, right? So I've put out, and then Saturn obviously seems like he's going to go down here. So I put out theories before explaining why I think that Mercury would probably fight, Warcury. Mercury will probably fight Dragon. Why Venus Juro will probably fight Zoro, we all understand that. So then, if you look at that, it kind of starts to create a bit of a trend where it's possible that the Gorosei are ranked. Like, it's possible, if we want to speculate, that their names indicate their order of strength. With Mercury being the closest planet to the sun, right? Venus Juro, we can imagine Zoro's opponent. Second closest, I think that kind of tracks. You could kind of imagine that Dragon or someone would get to fight Mercury. Zoro's probably going to fight maybe the second strongest Gorosei, which would probably be Venus Juro. Yeah, you kind of go down the list like that. And then that would put, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter looks kind of younger than the rest of them. And then Saturn, right? Saturn could be the weakest of the Yonko. This could be very speculative, but the reality is that Oda very often, like, if he's picking these names for some sort of a reason, and the reasons don't even correspond to, like, what their area of expertise is, because Mercury is Mars in mythology is like the god of war, but here it's the god of the environment, right? So it's not like Oda's even naming these. He didn't come up with the names for the characters for the Gorosei based off what they represent. So my guess is that it's possible that they're supposed to be ordered in strength. Again, we've just seen this before. Oda will often order, like, he'll show us who's like King, Queen, Jack, right? Simple, easy to know who's strongest top to bottom. Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3, etc., right? He'll do things like the trials, like the percentage chance to survive the trials. I wouldn't be surprised with the Gorosei. We don't really have any other indicators. Maybe it's just supposed to be order of the planets. Mercury strongest, then Venus, then Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. I think that that's very, very possible. So Saturn could be the weakest of them. Could be that's very speculative, obviously, but I'm looking at past trends at the very least that we've seen with how Oda tends to go about naming and ordering subordinates. You get what I'm saying? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? All right. Let me catch up on these. Not a Pro 64 thanks to the 5. If Kizaru took a Don Gatling, he's getting knocked into break week. that's fair to say, maybe. But at the same time, Saturn's whole like, you can't just base it off of who can take more damage, because it's like, I mean, throw a Seeking at like, let a Seeking bite Shanks' arm versus let a Seeking bite like Big Mom's arm, see what happens. You know what I mean? Kizaru's not going to get hit by a Don Gatling as easily, right? Saturn's whole thing seems to be regeneration, so it's not really fair to compare. On top of that, Saturn very possibly has immortality, based on just what we know of him, the age that we saw in Kuma's backstory, etc. So those things considered, it's kind of like, you know, Saturn's thing is taking damage, immortality, etc. stuff, you know? Like, Kizaru's more likely to dodge or not get hit. At the end of the day, they're both caught by Luffy right now, so... Well, Kizaru's taking more damage at the very least, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to downplay Kizaru's, I guess what I'm saying. I don't think he'd be far off from Saturn. I think there's still a possibility that Saturn is not as strong as Kizaru, but I would probably, if I had to bet money, I'd bet on Saturn. GDN bringing up, could Saturn even hit Kizaru in a fight? Man, we can't, like, it's just the way conversations go, right? Like, you can't talk about two characters at length like this without getting into who beats who. It's just the way it is. I don't know if Saturn could hit Kizaru in a fight. In theory, Saturn could look in Kizaru's general direction and Kizaru would be frozen. We still don't understand Saturn's abilities. Dirk, thanks for the 10. Last stream, I thought a solution to the Gear 5th issue was draw Luffy mad, also with cartoonish effects, i.e. steam from his ears/veins popping, but what we got with sorry, fumbling words here. What we got this chapter was fantastic. I much prefer this chapter. I much prefer the look that we got this chapter. I like it. It's new. It's fresh. It was what I was hoping that we could get at some point in the past. It just confirmed that we can do some serious stuff with Gear 5th, to me. The steam popping and stuff like that, I think, like steam coming out of his ears, like cartoon effects, I think that, like, he would still be mad, but it would be using a gag to communicate that, which I don't think is effective for tone, in my opinion. His name is Top Man. That's also true. Good point. Yeah, Mercury might be the strongest, yeah. Oxford, thanks for the 5. The power scaling for Vice Admirals probably varies more than other ranks in One Piece. It's the highest rank most Marines will ever achieve, and only 3 can be Admirals. That is very, very true. You probably get the largest, because the, all we know about Vice Admirals, the only thing we know about Vice Admirals is the bare minimum to get the status is knowing Haki, right? Knowing Haki will make you a Vice Admiral. No, it won't necessarily, like, Kobe knows Haki and he still didn't get it. Kobe obviously scales well above his rank. But, yeah, like, you just need to, if you, like, the bare minimum for being a Vice Admiral is knowing Haki. That makes a lot of sense. At the same time, you can be as strong as, obviously, someone like Garp, even if we say Garp's an outlier, because Garp was supposed to be promoted to Admiral. Even if we go higher than that, it's like, yeah, like, I don't think, I was going to say Virgo, but maybe Virgo, I think a lot of the Strats, actually, even mid-tier, can handle Virgo at this point, for sure. But you know what I mean? Like, there's, yeah, it makes sense. Like, you can get really, really strong as Vice Admiral and still not be an Admiral, right? I mean, like, you even got a good display in Ohara itself, where it was like, first you had Saul going off. Saul was a Vice Admiral. He was going off. He was just wrecking the entire fleet, the Buster Call fleet that attacked there. And Saul was just a Vice Admiral. He was probably stronger than most Vice Admirals there. And then you had Aokiji show up, and Aokiji zero-diffed Saul. And Aokiji was also a Vice Admiral at the time. So, you know, just goes to show, I would agree with you that there's a large range of strength in the Vice Admiral category for a while. Truck Kun says any bum can be a Vice Admiral. Yeah, I mean, like, you throw some random, I I don't know. Just anyone that knows Aokiji, or not Aokiji, Haki into the into the into the mix, and like technically they could apply for Vice Admiral probably. And on says Saturn might have a better showing in his full form, but he's probably rusty. I don't buy rusty as an excuse, and like unless it's like explained, like if you're like really explains that he's not used a sword for a long time, therefore he's rusty. But I don't want to hear any excuses like when we're fighting Im, and if Im loses to Luffy, it's like, well, Im hasn't fought for like 800 years, so he's rusty. It's like, no, I mean, like, I feel like it has to be stressed into this. Like, the story has to stress, you know, the story has to stress that this character is rusty. We should not expect them to be at full strength. Because I just don't, I'm not looking forward to hearing excuses for when Im loses to Luffy and it being like, if Im fought in his prime like 800 years ago or something. It's like, what the fuck, he's immortal. This is his prime right now. I don't care if he hasn't fought anybody recently. Like, there's no way that Oda can fix that. You know, he can't have him just fighting characters here and there every 5 years or so. DD, thanks a lot. Why does Luffy have a big scar on his armpit? Does he? Let me check the chapter again. I don't see that. I don't really see what you're talking about, so maybe it's a panel that I'm not seeing. Applegrams. Elbaf definitely on the 40 to 50 chapter range. I feel like Elbaf will be about the same length as this arc. Jordan Taylor says Garp is probably the strongest Vice Admiral, lol. I mean, yeah, obviously. It's nothing close. What scar are you guys talking about? Which panel is this? Why am I not seeing this? Why am I not seeing what you guys are seeing? Is it the final panel? Because I don't see anything there. Don't see anything when he's jumping around. Don't see anything up here. Where's this? I don't know what panel you guys are talking about. Someone clarify real quick. Where are we looking at? He was cauterizing Vegapunk's wound. I don't know if I believe that one. Panel after Vegapunk is stabbed. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I think that's just a drawing thing. I don't know. Looks like stitches or something, but it seems random to me. All right, let's get the stream likes up to 400. We're almost there. Action Punk, thanks. Well, not thanks, but you know, you asked a question. Top 3 or five most active characters in the story right now, plot/information wise. Why'd you ask top 3 or 5? Why not 4? Why'd you jump from 3 to 5? That's my question. Most active right now? It's just it's what characters we've got right now: Luffy, Kizaru, Saturn. That's top 3. Patty G, thanks for the 2. You gonna play Elden Ring now that the DLC is announced? Thank you for someone bringing this up. So I did not watch the Elden Ring trailer because I've decided that I want to go in really. So when Elden Ring first came out, I actually did like learn a lot about it just because I wasn't playing video games. You know, like I think you guys know this. I only really started picking up single player games again for the first time like last year, roughly. So when Elden Ring came out in 2022, the whole internet's talking about it. I don't really play games, so I'm just watching videos. Like it's such a phenomenon. I'm watching videos just to like kind of see what it's about, you know? So I think I spoiled myself on like a lot of shit that happens in Elden Ring, characters, boss fights, things like that. Then obviously once I started getting to the Souls games a little bit last year, then I was like, fuck, I really want to play Elden Ring now. So I do know stuff that happens. I know about like infamous boss fights and stuff like that. I've watched lots of videos of people fighting Millennia. I realized that I really want to go into... It's one of those things where like, you're like, okay, well, I'm never going to get into this sort of thing. I don't really play games, so like, there's no harm in me spoiling myself. And then later on, you're like, fuck, I really, really want to play this. I'm sad that I spoiled myself on a lot of stuff. So I want to go into the DLC blind as much as possible. I did not even watch the trailer. Yeah, so trailer sounds like it got a lot of people really, really excited. Yeah, We'll see. I'm still playing Tears of the Kingdom, the Zelda game, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Um, I think I'll probably finish that by the time Elden Ring comes out, and then I can just I'll be able to play Elden Ring and the DLC all in one go. So you know, and Tears of the Kingdom I'm loving. Stormfox, thanks for the 5. Vega about to tell the secrets we waited 20 years for, and all I hear is people talk about his power scaling. I hate it. Well, to be fair, I think next chapter, when the secrets are dropped, we'll be able to... We'll have a lot to talk about there, you know? It's just that this chapter, we only got teased that Vegapunk's going to tell us about stuff. So there's not much for us to really sink our teeth into. The highlight of this chapter definitely was the Luffy versus Kizaru and Saturn bit, right? So we got to work with what we got to work with. I'm sure next week will be a lot of lore discussion. JP, thanks for the 10. Agenda piece is hilarious, but it's kind of sad to see some people letting it dictate their enjoyment of the chapter. This week it was Sanji and Admiral fans. Who knows next week? So I'm going to stop right there, which is like, I think that sometimes sometimes fair, like, I don't know, complaints or like, yeah, fair critiques or whatever can be dismissed just because of agenda. So I wouldn't say that's the case with the Zoro stuff. It's like, look, if Zoro's fighting Lucci for this long, it just is what it is. You just got to deal with it. But with the Sanji thing, I think that it is kind of fair to be a little bit upset that, like, why have this character come in and, like, you just read the previous chapter, it feels very abrupt and like it's killing a lot of momentum and excitement. Like, to have this character come in, give them a cool moment, write the character to make it seem as though the character is really dead set on succeeding or helping or stopping the villain in some way, right? Like, you're giving the character like a big pump up moment, and then the very next chapter just like kind of just like throwing that in the trash and being like, no, that actually doesn't matter. It's as though last chapter's moment just didn't happen, or it doesn't matter. Because you can think of like a lot of moments throughout One Piece that are kind of like, it's important that when the character buckles down and is like, okay, I'm going to do something, or like, I'm here, I'm going to make a difference or something, it's important that you then get the follow through on that, right? That's just good writing. That's just setup, payoff. You get the reader excited for what's going to happen, right? You set up a character, you set up a dramatic moment or dramatic sequence in a way. I don't think it's good to set a character up with like dialogue like that, implying that they're going to, like, implying that this is going to be an important scene for them, and then kind of throwing them under the bus, you know? So if, for example, the scene that happened this chapter with like Sanji save Vegapunk, Sanji takes Vegapunk, then Vegapunk gets stabbed anyway, if that had happened just on its own, I'd be like, okay, that just happened, like Sanji wasn't whatever. But because the last chapter, you set Sanji up with this sort of a moment of like him coming in, him having this dialogue with Kizaru, him making an impact, and basically kind of laying it out like, okay, Sanji's like Oda's saying, okay, Sanji is dead set on doing something about this situation, right? Now, next chapter, if it's like, okay, well, that actually didn't matter at all, I don't think that that's good. I don't think that's treating the characters well in the way that you're setting them up. So for me, it's not just what happened. It's more so what happened before and then how that was kind of thrown away. You get what I'm saying? Because if the scene just happened, then it just happened, right? But it's like, why is the character being... Like, what was the point? Why are you setting it up? Because I could go through One Piece and like talk about a shit ton of moments where, you know, character comes in, set to have a dramatic moment, and then dramatic moment follows through, pays off, and it's like, it's good. Those make for really, really good sequences. It's rare that you see something like this where it's like, why do this? and then it just is pointless, you know? Tom, thanks for the 10. I think Lucci and Kaku's awakening are from an artificial process. The unperfected version is what awakened the jailers. Lucci and Kaku have black clouds versus Luffy and Yamato's white. Yeah. I don't know, but then it's like, does everyone have the clouds? Does every awakened Zoan have clouds? Is that confirmed yet? I get what you're saying, like the unperfected version is the jailers, so they don't have it. But I think it could also, like, the black and white could also just be Luffy and Yamato being good guy characters, you know what I mean? Um, I'm not pushing. Like, this is like, to me, this is not. I'm not pushing Sanji. Like, I would have the same view. Again, like what I'm saying is basically, if you just want to write the Sanji scene of like Sanji, like if you ignore what happened last chapter and just gave Sanji this scene where Sanji shows up at the scene of the crime, Luffy tells him to take Vegapunk, Sanji fails to do so, I wouldn't have anything to say about it. I'd be like, cool, that happened. Sanji fucked up. It's more so because you set up last chapter, so it's not even like pro Sanji, anti Sanji. Like, to me, it's take the agenda out of it. It's just, this is a character. You have the character show up, and everything about the way the character is written, the dialogue that's written, the framing of the scene, the portrayal of characters, reactions, etc., it's setting up this character in a light that seems as though, like, I'm here to make a difference. Next chapter, it's like, they don't make a difference. It feels very weird. You can look through, like, forget One Piece, like, any series that you can think of, like, where you've seen this in a million different ways, right? Like, character shows up to do something or to make an impact. Like, I can start going through One Piece and coming up with examples, even if you would like. Like, how many times have we seen, like, forget Zoro or Sanji. Imagine if it's like Luffy showing up somewhere, and like, what's a good example recently? Like Luffy showing up somewhere, like Luffy showing up in front of Bonnie or something like that, right? Like literally just this arc. Like Bonnie's so sad, she's crying, etc. Luffy shows up as Bonnie, like in front of Bonnie, all smiling, and it's like, I'm here, I'm Nika, like I'm here to save you, right? Like, or whatever the fuck he was saying, right? Like, you know, why you're looking for me all along? Like, you're setting up Luffy in a light that's very positive. It's like, oh, Luffy's here. It's like this character is here to make a difference. You've set up the scene, you've set up momentum in a certain direction, and then the next chapter, Bonnie just gets like Luffy gets brushed aside, and Bonnie gets stabbed through the stomach. You get what I'm saying? It's I like ignore which character it is. I'm trying to say take agenda out of it. It's more so you set up a character like this. I would say the same if it was any other Straw Hat. If it was Zoro in this situation, of course I would say it. If it was Frankie, I would definitely say it because I'm like, fuck, why'd you treat this character who never gets moments like this? Frankie, Robin, Usopp, Nami, etc. Like when you write the characters coming in dramatically and giving them dramatic moments, dramatic dialogue, and setting intent in a certain way, it feels very pointless and deflating if that stuff doesn't lead to anything or is kind of just like immediately undone immediately afterwards. It's almost comical if you were to probably read this last chapter and then this chapter back to back. You get what I'm saying? Like, just imagine the Nika scene. If like Luffy's showing up, like Bonnie sees his silhouette or whatever, Luffy's like, I'm here, like you're looking for me this entire time, like why are you crying, etc. She's all happy. And then immediately afterwards, like, Luffy gets kicked away by Kizaru, and then Kizaru stabs Bonnie in the stomach, and it's like, okay, so Luffy actually sucks. Tom, thanks for the 10. I think oh no, we covered this. JP, thanks for being a member for 11 months. Big Mom Pirates showing up and then doing nothing. That's not quite the same. That's like, because they're not really being given a character moment or anything. Like, it's not like Oda was dramatically having them arrive or anything. It was almost comical the way they arrived. But yeah, you get what I'm saying? Aliato5, thanks for the 5. Labophase barrier is cage-like and made of burning light. Is Luffy going to use it as a bug zapper on Saturn? Oh, that's a cool idea. Like how you used a real bug zapper on me. Okay. I don't know if he would use it on Saturn effectively. Like, I don't know if it could work like that, but I like the imagery. Goldie Ace's Robin to help Sanji versus Maria. Yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. Like, just think of any scene. Like, imagine Robin shows up, says those dramatic lines about, like, Sanji's going to rely on me, etc., and then immediately afterwards, she just, like, she loses to Black Maria, and Sanji gets stabbed through the stomach. You get what I'm saying? Like, the scene and, like, what happened with Sanji this chapter, if it was just in isolation, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'm just like, yeah, Sanji loses to Kizaru. That happens. It's more so the, you know, like, forget agenda. It's just, like, you can respect character writing, period, and the way that a character and dramatic moments are being handled, right? Max Delaire, thanks for the 10. I think Sabo will be the one to fight Akainu in the final war. He holds the same grudge as Luffy against him for killing his brother, and I feel like it would set a more serious tone than Gear 5th Luffy. Let's see, because we're seeing a different side of Gear 5th Luffy here now, right? So I've more faith in it to deliver in that aspect. And I just don't like. I've always been. First of all, I think this is your first super, so thanks a lot, Max Delaire. I appreciate it. I think like I could go off on a long explanation of why I think that Sabo versus Akainu carries so much less impact than Luffy versus Akainu. I really feel like the Luffy Akainu matchup, like everything in terms of one, it being Luffy's most personal matchup, period, more so than Blackbeard. Maybe Blackbeard becomes even more personal down the line if Blackbeard kills Shanks or Usopp or something, but right now, there's only one character that Luffy actually, like, gets angry about hearing their name and, like, actually clutches, like, he literally clutches his chest when he hears about Akainu, right? There's a serious personal connection there. Then obviously, like, Akainu represents everything. Like, he represents Luffy's biggest failure, his biggest defeat. Like, he has the scar, like, literally, Akainu's scar is etched on Luffy's chest. In One Piece alone, scars matter a lot and who leaves them on you. But, like, just in fiction, like, a one character, major antagonist, leaving a scar on the protagonist, like, it's almost, like, the scars are usually very important to those characters' stories intertwining again down the line, right? Then, obviously, everything that Luffy represents and just what everything Akainu represents, those are two very important contrasting ideals that are, you know, it kind of goes to the core philosophical concept of One Piece, what they both represent. And then just pirates versus marines. That's like the classic dichotomy in One Piece. Like going back to chapter 2. Going back to like chapter 2, chapter 3, like the beginning of the story, it's always pirates, marines. Like these are two sides of the same coin. They're the natural enemies of the world, you know? I just feel like there's a lot of reasons that Luffy versus Akainu feels very, very important to the story versus like Sabo. It's like just like a character that's written in after the fact, after Ace's death, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna do it instead of like I don't know. I think there's a lot less there. I think that the reasoning a lot of Sabo fans have is like it gives Sabo something to do, which I think is poor reasoning because it's like Luffy's Luffy. Like look at this arc. You've got Saturn, Kizaru, and Lucci. And if you're thinking, well, I wonder how Oda's going to spread those matchups around, it's like, oh, well, they all go to Lucci. They all go to Luffy. That's how they get spread around. Luffy gets to fight Lucci first, then he gets to fight Kizaru, and then he gets to fight Saturn, and then he gets to fight Saturn and Kizaru. And it's kind of like, you know, if I'm looking at this arc, like, if fucking Sanji's not getting anything to do, then I don't know if Sabo's going to take Luffy's most personal, most etched in, like most symbolically important almost, or like one of the most symbolically important matchups for Luffy in the entire story, you know? Like that's the dude that killed his brother. And Luffy's like it's Luffy's story. He's like infinitely more important than Sabo. I just don't know if Oda would just give Akainu, like a villain that important to Sabo, just to give Sabo something to do. To me, like, let's put it this way. To me, it would be almost similar to, like, it's close to the same thing from my book as, like, Oda giving Blackbeard to Sabo. It's almost the same. I'd say Blackbeard is obviously more important than Akainu and more set up than Akainu, but it's, like, half a step away from the same thing in terms of, like, how much those two, like, Blackbeard and Akainu have been built into Luffy's story. I still recognize the possibility that things just don't turn out that way. I really thought that Luffy would fight Big Mom, but that didn't happen, obviously. So it's possible, but I would still argue that Akainu is much, much more built into Luffy's story and Luffy's personal narrative than someone like Big Mom ever was. Versus, I don't think Sabo's ever, like, even said shit about Akainu. Tom, thanks for the 5. Part 2, Lafitte is on Egghead. Is going to steal this process, allowing every Blackbeard pirate to have awakening and be more of a threat. Very Blackbeard-esque. Steal. Oh, I see what you're saying. Steal the artificial awakening process. That's interesting. If that's like a method that can be done. Yeah, I could see something like that. I also think that like we've also seen so much other Vegapunk technologies that could be the actual case here. So I don't know. Umer Ula, thanks for the 5. Please do more collabs. I'll give you names. Okay. Fexer, Shonen Showdown, that OP talk, any past collabs you've done. What do you think is Luffy's hybrid form? Generally for me, like if somebody that I already know invites me to do a collab on their channel, I'm usually gonna say yes if we can find a time that works. I'm not as intent on inviting people to this channel to do collabs nowadays, just because it locks me in schedule wise in a certain way. It can sometimes be hard to schedule with other people. It's just, you know, there's not much for me collab wise that I really want to collab with other people on, if that makes sense. Like I'll do it if other people invite me. I've always done it when other people invite me. SMX Wing, thanks for the 5. Straw Hats, not Luffy and Zoro, need more attention. Some random bozos in Wano get some yet not one memorable Usopp moment. Hope Wano's the last self-contained type arc. My feeling is that Usopp, we might just have to wait for Elbaf on him. He might just be getting a ton of stuff in Elbaf. But I do feel it's just weird that this arc, where it was so isolated, it's really just the Straw Hats here, right? Like as soon as we get to Elbaf, it's gonna be like a bunch of side characters, like giants, obviously, red-haired pirates. We can assume maybe the kid pirates are still lurking around there. We don't know. Who knows who else shows up? This arc, it's really, really light on characters, relatively speaking, to a lot of other New World arcs. I am disappointed. Like, that's the only part of Egghead. That's the only part of Egghead that I find disappointing, which is we just don't get time with the main characters, which is just been a trend. And I felt like if there was one arc that could really buck that trend, it would be this arc. I don't feel confident that that's the case right now. Oxterwords, thanks for the 2. Sabo with Ace's Devil Fruit might make it fit thematically. I mean, I guess it would fit in, like, an inherited will sort of context, but it's not like Ace's will was even to defeat Akainu. It would just be, like, Luffy versus Akainu means a lot more in the sense of, like, actual themes of the story, right? Freedom, absolute justice, Luffy's stances on, like, morality, the right thing to do, versus Akainu's. These are the two things that have really set pirates versus Marines on two sides. Like, there's a lot more going on there. I think it's using thematically a little loosely to say, well, thematically it's important for Ace's fire fruit to one day beat Akainu's magma fruit. I don't think that was, like, the philosophical difference between those two or anything. I like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's that important that fire beats magma at the end of the day. Ace's fruit passing on to Sabo, so like Sabo gets to beat Akainu in Ace's place. I don't think it was that important. Like, by that logic, it's like, why not then Sabo fighting Blackbeard? Because Ace's last, like, the important duel that he lost was the one to Blackbeard, right? So why not have Sabo avenge Ace against Blackbeard then, right? Like, just because Ace lost to a character and it happened to be Akainu, I don't think it's important that like Ace's ability is then used to beat that character. You get what I'm saying? Because I mean, that same logic applies to Blackbeard. To me, it's more so like, this is personal to Luffy. Like, this is the moment that, like, this is really the only moment in the entire story that we've really seen shape and affect the main character, Luffy, right? Luffy, normally things just brush off of him. This is the only one that deeply, deeply affected him and just shaped his entire mentality for the next 2 years, right? It's more so how personal what Akainu did is to Luffy. And it was Ace protecting Luffy from Akainu that did it, you know? There's just so much more there in my opinion, for Luffy to come full circle and be the one to, like, if I'm being honest, a more likely scenario that I see would be Akainu about to kill Sabo and then Luffy saving Sabo. I think that that's much more likely than Sabo defeating Akainu at the end of the day. Because that would mean so much more. To me, that would be thematically, symbolically so much more powerful, in that this time it's Luffy saving his brother from, instead of being the one being saved, you know? Again, like, maybe it's Sabo versus Akainu. If I'm going to give credence to it, so, like, I can make the argument the other way, obviously. I think one little thing that I thought was interesting was Akainu he seems very focused on the Flame Emperor stuff, right? He's looking at Sabo, the big banner and stuff, and Akainu's really ruminating on the rise of the Sabo guy, right? So maybe Akainu's got his sights on Sabo as well. Who knows? Ricky Servant says Sabo can fight one of the Gorosei. So I know this isn't the most popular opinion, but I just don't think Sabo's that strong. Like, I don't think he's strong enough that he'd be fighting a Gorosei unless he gets like a lot of power-ups by the end of the story. I mean, he would need Advanced Conqueror's Haki or something like that. But, I mean, the way it is right now, it's Sabo's... Like, I wouldn't even put like, I can't... How like... To me, Sabo is clearly like a first mate type character. He clearly, to me, falls in that category from the things that we've seen of him. I don't think there's anything that really puts him above that. He has no feats that put him above that. Yeah. So he would need a lot of jumps, you know? The Outback Panda says chill on Sabo. No, I mean, like, what's wrong with first mate level? That's high. Like, first mate level is pretty good. He's not, like, I don't think he's Admiral. Like, we all know from Dressrosa he's not Admiral level. Like, Sabo himself knows he's not Admiral level. JP, thanks for the 10. I think people see the fire versus magma thing as an underdog element surpassing a superior element through willpower. Kind of random, but people always like that sort of thing. I get that, but I don't think that that's ever been, like, a thing in One Piece that's, like... No, you know what? Rubber versus... Like, that was a big aspect of Luffy versus Katakuri. You're right. That is a thing there. I was about to say, like, I don't think Oda's ever really cared about that in terms of devil fruits. Like, well, this guy has this devil fruit, so he has to, like, we need to see the matchup versus the better version of himself. But we did see that with Rubber versus Mochi, so I think there is a point there. Umair Ula says he's not above Zoro from what we know. Yeah, like, I mean, Sabo has no way of beating someone like King, for example. Or, like, Marco. Or... I would take Sabo over Katakuri, because I think Fire is a bad matchup. But, yeah. Again, if Sabo got some buffs, like, maybe he got, like... I don't see Sabo as an Advanced Conqueror's Haki character, but maybe I'm wrong about what type of characters can get Advanced Conqueror's Haki. But to me, Sabo just doesn't fit the bill for that, from the way he was written. But, you know, so I don't know the clear route that he would get buffs. I feel like Sabo versus a God's Knight or Sabo versus, like, maybe the weakest Gorosei or something. I don't know. Or maybe he gets, like, a big buff. Like, characters always get power-ups once in a while. Yusuf says Sabo over Katakuri is nasty. I think maybe just, like, a bad matchup for Katakuri. Like, I think it's hard to do a lot with Mochi if there's fire everywhere. Okay, I can't say your name, but Sabo's flames could become blue or something. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Awakening. You know what? I'm forgetting. Like, Devil Fruit Awakening could get him there. Forgot about that. The Outback Panda says, remember this when he glows up? Yeah, at the end of the day, Sabo's a very important character, so I might be totally, like, you know, characters just get buffed, right? Like, Law's a lot stronger now than he was in Dressrosa. We don't know exactly what, but, like, Devil Fruit Awakening was a big part of it. It's just, you know. Floortile says once in a while Luffy got 3 in 1 arc Morj. Yeah, but that's Luffy, dude. Again, I do think that Sabo could get some major power-ups for sure. It's just I don't think he's an Advanced Conqueror's Haki user. I don't think he ever will be. So that kind of locks him out of a certain type of ability. So it'd have to be like Awakening based and maybe just improving other types of Haki. I don't know. The Outback Panda says you at least have Sabo over Law, I hope. No, I don't. I don't like Law. You guys know that. But, like, I don't really, like, how am I going to have Sabo over Law when, like, obviously Sabo, like, if you look at what Law did, it's very impressive. Like, I have a hard time downplaying it. Because he fought Blackbeard and Burgess post Devil Fruit, right? Sabo fought a version of him without even a devil fruit, right? So Law's handling Blackbeard, Burgess post devil fruit, Van Augur, and Doc Q all at the same time, while his crew of like bum penguins and shit like swimming around spitting water. It's, obviously Law lost, but like it's just what he did is so much more than like, like essentially the way Law was fighting someone like Burgess, even with the strength fruit, was essentially fodder, like essentially not even a factor in their fight, right? Sabo, it was at least someone that he had to stall for a certain period of time. Obviously Sabo's much stronger than Burgess, but not to the degree that like Sabo couldn't have been fighting Blackbeard at the same time as like Burgess with the strength fruit, with Van Augur, with Doc Q, like that. Like if you go, like, just be objective, if you go back and read the Coliseum fight, Sabo couldn't, like, this was Burgess pre-strength fruit and stuff. It's not like he was treating Burgess nearly as casually as Law. Like, for Law, like, it was like Burgess wasn't even a factor in the fight, essentially. You get what I'm saying? Like it was essentially like Burgess was just a random foot soldier. Sabo, obviously way stronger than Burgess over the course of the Coliseum fight and Dressrosa, but not to the point that, like, Burgess just didn't matter to him. Like, Burgess just didn't exist. For Law, Burgess just didn't even exist. So I can't really put Sabo above Law. And I would love to, but I can't. Tom, thanks for the 5. I think Shiryu's awakening could make him literally intangible, requiring Zoro to truly learn to cut nothing. Oh, that could be really cool. Oh, that would be really cool. Morj, I'm cooking here. Free vid ideas on God. That's a really good idea. I like that a lot. Because I was thinking, like, that his awakening could be something like he's not even, like, sensible with observation hockey. But that is a beautiful idea, what you just said. I like that a lot. Heaven says, but Sabo is using the fruit for the first time? Yeah, but Burgess didn't even have a fruit. like Burgess didn't even have a fruit. Like, what you can't even use that as an excuse, because, like, this was Burgess pre-fruit. It doesn't matter that Sabo didn't have a fruit. Burgess, like, Sabo had just gotten a fruit. Burgess literally did not have a fruit at this point in time. Umair Ula, thanks for the 5. Again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It would be cool if you did a stream where you give characters appropriate bounties and bounty predictions. So, I like that a lot. That's a fun stream idea. I was thinking about saving... I actually have that saved as a video idea. But I'm thinking, actually, now that you brought it up, it could be more fun as a stream idea. I'm going to put that down. I did not think of it as a stream idea. I think that would be more fun as a stream idea than a video idea. I don't know. You'll either see it as a video or a stream. Aespa, come back, thanks to the 5. You all aren't ready for self-actualized Fat Katakuri leading the new Big Bomb Pirates. Because he's committed to eating a lot of donuts and mochi. Stay curious if Sabo was low diffing before he ate the fruit. No. If you read that fight, it wasn't a low diff. You can't call it a low diff. Cause it wasn't a mid. Okay, he was doing better than Zoro is currently doing against Lucci. That's for sure. Low diff. The fight went on long enough, and like they clashed equally. No, Sabo had the advantage, but like they clashed for some period of time. It went long enough. It's a low mid dip, but my point still stands, which is that basically, like, it wasn't like Sabo used. You can go back and read the fight. Sabo used a named move against Burgess. They clashed. Burgess had the disadvantage, but it was still like a big clash that was like going back and forth in the Coliseum. You know, it's not like Sabo just like overpowered Burgess like that. Like Sabo was clearly stronger, but it's not the same as the Law situation where it's like Burgess with strength devil fruit and stuff is just, he's not even there for Law. Like, it's not, his existence doesn't matter. He's just a random foot soldier. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, you know how Rebecca was involved in that Coliseum fight as well? Burgess may as well have been Rebecca to Law. You know what I'm saying? Or I get maybe Diamante would be a better example. Like Diamante was technically involved in the Colosseum battle, but he wasn't a factor to Sabo. For Law, it's the same thing, but imagine that, but relative to Burgess, at least from what we've seen. Jolly D. Joe starts to stop. Sabo wasn't serious until Burgess mentioned Ace. Look, guys, I get what you're saying. Like, again, Sabo had a fruit, Burgess didn't. I'm not saying Sabo's close to Burgess. I'm just saying that, like, there was a fight there at the very least. Like, there was a fight. They had to fight, you know? They clashed with hockey and stuff in the Coliseum. They fought, right? Sabo's clearly had the advantage. The advantage grew a lot once he got the fire fruit. It's not the same as the Law situation, where Law's, like, for him, Burgess, Van Auger, Doc Q, all of them, and this is a much stronger version of Burgess, by the way, like a way amp version of Burgess, all of them don't even matter. Like, there's no fight there involved. Like, they're NPCs to him, right? It's not the same as Sabo could not be trying to handle Blackbeard at the same time as, like, as that situation. Put it this way, if he could, then Sabo would have just finished off Doflamingo right there, too. If, like, Burgess was that easy for him, then he would have just killed Doflamingo right there. You get what I'm saying? Because if that's where you're putting him, then Doflamingo would just, like, Burgess would be gone in a second, right? And then Sabo would be fighting Doflamingo, stalling Doflamingo for Luffy for 10 minutes. You get what I'm saying? Or just finishing Doflamingo off. Or if he didn't want to finish Doflamingo off, then, because he wanted his brother to do it, he would let Luffy get his 10 minutes. You get what I'm saying? That's not how the arc was written. It's not that easy. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, otherwise, why is Sabo off fighting Burgess while the entire fucking fodder townspeople are having to save Luffy from Doflamingo dying by the second? Like, Doflamingo offing soldiers and innocent citizens by the second for 10 minutes while Sabo's off, like, stalling Burgess. You get what I'm saying? The gap's not as big. Like, yeah, he beat Burgess's ass, but it's not so big that, like, it's not the same as, like, the Sabo and Burgess gap. The Sabo and Burgess gap is essentially, like, Burgess doesn't even exist to Sabo. Sabo could fight Blackbeard for God knows how long, while Burgess just is there, you know? Not being a factor. Iro, thanks for the 10. Honestly, each arc proves top tiers have huge ranges. Like OPM, Rogers above dragon level, and Admirals are basically dragon level. I don't know if we know what dragon level is, dude. Like, both top tier, but above dragon level. Stomps dragon level badly. Oh, are you saying like One Punch Man, Rogers above dragon? Okay, so in One Punch Man, there's a thing called dragon level threat. Admirals are basically dragon level, but above dragon level Stomp. Yeah, okay. So if you know One Punch Man, then you would know what he's talking about. He's not talking about One Piece Dragon. He's talking about One Punch Man Dragon. JP, thanks for the 20. Do you think labeling Sabo as a Flame Emperor was a choice by Oda to intentionally want us to think of him comparable eventually to an actual Yonko? Like how Luffy was labeled one before he actually reached that level. I don't know Japanese, man, so I don't know like how these titles get thrown around. Like Boa Hancock was, in a very strange choice of words, was labeled like the Pirate Empress, which is wildly confusing when you're around the same time introducing the concept of 4 pirate emperors. And you're like, well, she's actually not, she's a pirate empress, but she's not one of the pirate emperors. She's like a Shichibuku. Like, it's just, I don't know why these words get thrown around. But, you know, like king and stuff get thrown around. I don't know. Yeah. Outback Panda says it was only a big clash in the anime. No, it was in the manga too. You just, I can't pull up manga panels here on this stream. I can only do that on Monday streams, but like the point being, the moment there's a clash there, you can't really compare Sabo and Law, you know, because that's Sabo with no Devil Fruit Burgess compared to like Law, who scales way above like to the point that with Devil Fruit Burgess is basically NPC. You get what I'm saying? JWP, thanks for the 5. Could Law beat King using internal destruction via Devil Fruit? I unfortunately think that yes, that is a weakness of King that Law could probably use. Also, Law is not being stalled against Lucci this long. BTW, he's stronger than all first mates we've seen. I don't want to talk about it. I don't think that, okay, I agree that Law, if he was going all out, would not be stalled this long against Lucci. I agree. Like, if he was taking it, like, if he just, like, put it this way, Law pulled out Awakening right away against Blackbeard, right? pulled it out right away against Blackbeard. If Law pulls Awakening out right away against Lucci, Law will not be stalled against Lucci for that long. I would agree. I think he would overcome Lucci faster than Zoro has. At the same time, Zoro hasn't pulled out everything he has either. As far as we know, maybe next chapter it confirms that Zoro's been using Advanced Conqueror's Haki this entire time, in which case it's just a tragedy and there's very little defense for Zoro fans. He's still got Ashura, that's about it. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, Zoro hasn't been using everything he can use. So, yeah, if Law's written like the way he was written in the Blackbeard fight, where he just pulls out Awakening right away, then, yeah, he would handle Lucci, right? If he's written without Awakening, then he probably loses to Lucci based on, like, everything else we've seen of Law pre-Awakening, you know? So, it's like, yeah, if Law pulls out his big gun right away, he would probably win faster than Zoro has. But I feel like if Zoro pulled out everything he can do right away, he would also finish the fight sooner, you know? Again, that's my argument right now. Let's see if next chapter it's like Zoro's like huffing and puffing and he's like, if he says some quote like, I can't believe I've been using advanced. If he says something like, man, Enma's really draining me. I've been using Advanced Conqueror's Haki for like 15 minutes now. I'm close to death at this point or something. If he says something like that, then it's over. I've got nothing to say. I would have to say that, yeah, Law's probably stronger than Zoro at this point. I would have no response. Maybe I would cling on to the possibility of Ashura, but I would have to put the arguments away for a bit. Probably stop calling Law a bum for a bit if it's revealed that Zoro's just been using Advanced Conqueror's Haki this entire fight. I don't know. Rodrigo Aliaga, thanks a lot. Do you think Saturn's eyes being so uncanny values on purpose? It feels like something pretending to be human. Yes, I definitely do think it's very, very much on purpose. I think like the whole idea is that the celestial dragons, they view themselves as gods, these perfect beings, so far above humans, etc. And then the irony of it all is supposed to be that they're not human, but in the sense that they're much worse than humans are. They're mutated monsters, demonic creatures, right? They're far from human, but not in the sense that they like to think of themselves as, in terms of being these gods, holy, pure beings, but rather just these disgusting, reprehensible monsters, right? I really like the way that his eyes are portrayed this chapter. Some of the better, subtle artwork that Oda has done. Rihanna Zara, thanks for the 5. Not counting Blackbeard. Out of all the Blackbeard parts free-for-alling, who's winning? I feel like Burgess gets low-diffed, feels weak to me, to be honest, carried. If we don't count Aokiji, because Aokiji could probably solo, then I think Shiryu, right? I think Shiryu wins. Shiryu's also going to be very, very difficult to deal with in a free-for-all because he can just turn invisible, and then that would be very difficult for people to handle, right? Okay. Stefan Green, I agree with you, but like Zoro completely outclassed Law when fighting the same opponent on the rooftop and then got the biggest power up in the series after the rooftop. I would agree. Those are my same arguments for Zoro above Law. But you know, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. At the end of the day, if it turns out Zoro's been using everything he's got against Lucci, I would have difficulty defending him, that's for sure. Maybe I'll be able to think of something, but I would have a lot of difficulty. Alright. Tala says, Morj, chapter 1093, Zoro using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Let's take a look at this. Well, we've kind of looked at this sort of stuff before, and what we landed on is that it's inconclusive. I've ran polls for you guys. It was viewed as we don't know, was the overwhelming answer. I would like confirmation either way, because that's where I'm at right now. Like, maybe he has been. I would like confirmation. JWP, thanks for the 5. Does Zoro know he has Conqueror's Haki? Like, 3 people have said, wow, so you're a king, and he was just like, what? I don't know. We haven't seen him intentionally use basic Conqueror's Haki. I don't know if he knows that he has that specifically, but he probably knows that there's some stuff he does with Enma, where Enma's really draining his energy that allows him to fight at a certain level, you know? So he may not know the name necessarily, but he probably knows that he can do a certain thing, right? probably like, he didn't realize that Shishi Sanson pre-time skip was him using armament haki, which is now what is being implied. He didn't know what that was really, but it turns out that when he was using that move, it was armament haki. So, but he still knew, he's like, that's what I do when I need to cut steel. Like, I need to do this special thing to cut steel. Shinkai9, thanks for the 2. Why did Zoro go from 3 swords to 2 swords? I don't read too much into that, man. I don't think it makes... Like, we're at a point in the story where, like, I don't think... Like, maybe... Okay. Maybe next chapter it's something like Zoro pulls out his 3rd sword and he's like, I'm gonna finish this, and he does a big move and then the fight's over. We all know that 3 swords is Zoro's, like, top fighting style, but... I don't think it's like... I think this deep into the story, the 2 swords, 3 swords thing, I don't think it matters that much. We all know that Zoro's got a lot of really good techniques he uses with just 2 swords. At this point, it's like, I'm not concerned about the bandana and the 3 swords, 2 swords thing. To me, it's more just like, is he using advanced Conqueror's Haki? That's the only question I really need answered. Unless, like, next chapter he pulls out the 3rd sword again, it's just like, I wasn't fighting to my full potential because I chose to handicap myself with 2 swords, which is weird. I don't know. Alright. A Being says, why didn't Mihawk tell Zoro about Conqueror's Haki? I don't know, man. Maybe he figured, like, that's something Zoro needs to figure out on his own. I have no idea. Maybe he told him about it. No, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, Zoro definitely didn't know. It's just the way it is. Like, maybe Mihawk was just like, you know what? Maybe Mihawk didn't want to lose. I mean, like, unlike the other teachers who are teaching with the hope that they just want their students to prosper, like, really just wants Luffy to become the best version of himself. Like, Ivankov wants Sanji to become strong to help Luffy. Everyone's like, Mihawk doesn't want to die, I imagine he would like to keep the world's strongest swordsman title at the very least a little bit longer. So, yeah. What incentive does he have to tell Zoro about Conqueror's Haki, huh? I don't think he has an incentive. Like, why would he do that? It also just, it's like, I've taught you enough. Be on your way. And, if you figure it out, we'll deal with that when the time comes. But, just to make it a little more difficult, I'm going to take one of your eyes. Just to make it, just to hold on to this title a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Oh shit, the Fraud Hawk doesn't have Conqueror's Haki theories are coming out? Oh fuck. By the way, I'm gonna have to call stream in about 5 minutes. Oh no, I didn't see that. This is actually really funny. On the topic of why Zoro took out his 3rd sword and is not using 3 swords, Gavigator suggests that Zoro can't breathe with the 3rd sword, lol. So, fuck. The asthma allegations are never going away. This huffing and puffing. He had to take the 3rd sword out to inhale more air. Shinkai9, thanks for the 5. It looks like your theory's coming true so far when it comes to the Great Cleansing. Congratulations. Thank you. I do hope that it happens for the story. I think it's really good for the story. Alright, guys. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes to see if any more questions, and then beyond that, we are going to call it a day. No, we're going to assume Mihawk has Conqueror's Haki. His inhaler is inside his empty eye socket. Oh no, we're getting the Zoro is CP9 level allegations. Copyright says, yo, I finally caught a Morj stream live. I am sorry to disappoint, but we are going to end the stream shortly. Alright, guys. We're going to call the stream here. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, have a nice day. Oh, we got one more question from Ryan Azar. Thanks for the 10. Do you think Zora's trichiliocosm... I don't like the name for that. I get that that's the translation that Viz has, but I don't know. The move he used on Mihawk and Pika is still going to be his ultimate move, or will it change to something else? I hope it stays because I want him to use it on Mihawk again. My personal belief that I've always imagined is that it would be the same thing that he uses to defeat Mihawk ultimately. Just symbolically, it's a nice move. But I imagine him using it in Ashura instead. So it would be a 9-sword style version of that same move. I think that would be really fitting. It would just show how far Zoro's come. I think it'd be cool. Umir Ula, thanks for the 2. Just realized Luffy is shirtless in the last page, lol. Yeah, Luffy's just... Ever since Luffy got jacked, I think that Oda just draws him shirtless more frequently. Alright, guys. I think I'm caught up on supers now. I think I'm caught up. Yeah, I think I got everything. Alright, everybody. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Great chat.